आशत् ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्णा चैतन्य देवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। सर्वशास्त्रादि पीयूष सर्ववैदिक सत्फल सर्वसिद्धांत रत्नाध्य सर्वलौकिक दृक्पद सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवतो प्रभो कलिध्वंतो दितादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तिता प्रेमानंद पाठाय प्रेम वर्ष अक्षराय ते सर्वद सर्वसेवाय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोस्तुते। मत एक बंधु मत संगीन मत गुरु मन महाधन मन निष्ठारक मन भाग्य मद आनंद नमोस्तुते। असाधु साधु तादाइन अति नीचो च ताकरा हाना मुंचा कदाचिन मां प्रेम रित्कंथय स्फुर। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्। शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्णा पुण्यश्रवण कीर्तनं हृदयन्तस्तु अभद्राणि विदुनोति सुहृत्सतां नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। Let's read one translation. O Srimad Bhagavatam, I offer respectful obeisances unto you. By your recitation, one attains transcendental bliss because your syllables shower down pure love of God. You are to be served by everyone, always, for you are an incarnation of God. Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. So today we'll be moving on to chapter number 8 of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The chapter is titled Prayers by Queen Kunti and Maharaj Parikshit Saved. Okay, so I would say that there are 4 main sections in this chapter. Right? The first section, as you can see in the Subodhini also, the first section is like the first 4 verses. If you remember in the previous chapter, it ended with the entire Ashwatthama episode, right? And then we read about how Draupadi was lamenting for the death of her sons. And this actually chapter starts off by further lamentation by Pandavas, not only for Draupadi's sons, but for all the people who were killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So it starts with that mood of everyone lamenting and how Krishna actually pacifies the Pandavas. The next section is how Parikshit Maharaj is actually saved in the womb of Uttara. And if you remember the theme is Krishna is wanting to go to Dwarka because he has spent so much time in Kurukshetra. And every time he goes to Dwarka, there is something or the other happening, right? So now he gets ready to go to Dwarka, and then Uttara comes and says, oh Krishna, this Brahmastra is coming, killing the baby in my womb. Please protect me. So that is the next section, right? So Lord Krishna saves Maharaj Parikshit in the womb. Then the third section is actually the section with actually prayers of Queen Kunti. So these prayers of Queen Kunti are very, very beautiful. There's actually a book that you have seen, Prayers of Queen Kunti, right? So this is actually, it's not a separate book that Srila Prabhupada has written, but disciples have taken the purports of the Srimad Bhagavatam plus the lectures that Srimad Bhagavatam of Prabhupada that he has given on these verses, and they have compiled it together, right? So when you read the purport, the starting of this book is the same purport, and it is followed by, they just continue that by lectures by Srila Prabhupada. So it's very, very beautiful. So I would highly recommend that when you study this chapter for this coming week, you please read the lectures of Srila Prabhupada also. It's just like a wonderful lecture of Srila Prabhupada. So in the starting of this book, the publishers make this point about the prayers of Queen Kunti. It's very beautiful. This one sentence I'm going to read. The simple and illuminating outpourings of the soul of a great and saintly woman devotee. It's simple, the prayers are simple, but it is a very heartfelt outpouring of emotions of a very elevated personality. So they reveal both the deepest transcendental emotions of the heart, right? And also the most profound philosophical and theological penetrations of the intellect. So on one side, the prayers are imbued with so much emotions coming out from the heart of a devotee. At the same time, they are philosophically so deep, that even those who are philosophers will find so much in these prayers. So both there is rasa and there is tattva. These combinations together, heavily loaded with rasa, heavily loaded with tattva. And these combinations make those prayers very, very beautiful and very profound. Okay. So a majority of this chapter, text number 18 to 44, is actually Kunti Devi's prayer. So 26 verses are her prayers. Each prayer is very beautiful, worth spending hours discussing and meditating. Okay? And the last section is basically, it is kind of a prelude to chapter number 9, where it says the Lord's interaction with the aggrieved Yudhishthir. So even after everything, Yudhishthir is actually Yudhishthir is actually not okay. Even after the entire battle of Kurukshetra, Yudhishthir actually agreed, and even though personalities like Krishna, Vyasadeva, other personalities, they try to pacify Yudhishthir, he is not pacified, and that will lead on to the next chapter. Okay, so what we are going to do is section 1 to 4, text 1 to 4. We are quickly going to cover 5 to 17, maybe a little bit more time, and then 45 to 52 will be very quick. But the majority of the time we are going to spend on the prayers of Queen Kunti, 18 through 44. Okay, I'll come back to this where we'll discuss the different divisions of how the prayers can be subdivided into different sections. But I'll stop at this moment. Let's stop sharing. Okay. So let's see. Before I start over the chapter, maybe everyone can quickly share one realization from chapter number 7, and also help us, kind of review what are the main points we discussed in chapter number 7. Okay. So who would like to start?
I like the point in the 7 chapter 32 verse about atomic energy, where Prabhupada describes that atomic energy we have been hearing from science that it's very powerful, but here Prabhupada clearly describes that it's not powerful in front of Krishna's will, which is ultimate decision maker.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Next.
Hi Krishna Prabhu. I read in the 7th verse of the 7th chapter, it was saying, simply by hearing, Prabhupada wrote in the purport, simply by hearing it sprouts bhakti. Simply by hearing. So it's quite solid for me to understand. Thank you.
Good Utpada, it actually comes from the core of the heart. It just sprouts up prema. Right? Wonderful. Thank you. Next. Next, anyone who would like to go next?
I liked in text 6, it says that revival of love for Krishna is not dependent on mechanical hearing and chanting, but it's only due to the causeless mercy of the Lord. And when Krishna is satisfied by our efforts and our endeavors, then he will bestow loving devotional service. But even in the initial stages, we will feel a relief from all miseries while we're chanting and hearing.
Wonderful. So it is actually how in NOI starting, Prabhupada says, it depends on the attitude of the practitioner, right? That is how that defines our progress in Krishna consciousness. Thank you. Next.
I really like the verse, the prayers of Arjun to Krishna, Krishna Mahabharata, text 22, that how Krishna instills fearlessness in the hearts of his devotees.
Bhaktanam Abhyankara. So we can remember those two words, right? Bhaktanam Abhyankara. Right, wonderful. Next.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I just like the point, like how great are the Pandavas as Krishna's devotees, and Draupadi, because we have heard so much about her, but she has really shown her greatness even after her sons were killed. But then her magnanimity, that she was still forgiving the Dronacharya's son, Ashwatthama.
Yes. How can we even understand this? That if someone has killed all your sons, who can actually forgive such a person? And with this beautiful section that we read about how Draupadi gives the reasons why she thinks she should actually forgive. Very nice. And it reveals the heart of a devotee, right? Wonderful. Thank you. Next.
Prabhu, I like the Hare Krishna. Yeah, Prabhu, I like the point about Krishna's first entrance in Bhagavatam is he's mentioned as the chariot driver, Achyut Mitra Sutta.
Yes, wonderful. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I like everything is good, but I like the text number 10, Sutuvacha, regarding the Atma Rama Sloka, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how described in Chaitanya Charitamrita in chapter 23, and like how we can establish this path of this self-realization. How can we remove our material bondage?
Yes. Wonderful.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Next.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, ma'am.
I really like that point in text 22 that the spiritual master by his words can penetrate into the heart of the suffering person and inject knowledge transcendental, which alone can extinguish the fire of material existence.
Yeah, that is the words of spiritual master penetrate. All the layers are there. So many layers are there over our consciousness. With the words actually penetrate all the layers. Wonderful. Thank you. Next.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
I like the point that worshipping the devotees is more, serving the devotees is more powerful than serving the Lord.
That's our secret of success. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I like that part where Krishna tests the Arjuna. He's giving those counter arguments, even though after instructing him, then again counteracting that he should not kill or he should kill the Suttama.
And later on, when Draupadi gives the reason, Krishna actually says, "Oh, very nice. This is right. You should follow Draupadi." So Krishna is that way very tricky. He tests his devotee. Wonderful. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes,
Krishna.
Yes.
I had a similar thought with Varsha Mataji. Krishna is constantly testing the free will, even though a greatest devotee like Arjuna, initially he asked him to fight and everything, but later on when in the battlefield, he says, he gives him instructions, but he's testing his free will also. So we are also constantly facing that challenge, even if it comes from our guru or pure devotees, but we have to sometimes they may be testing our free will. That makes us more vigilant and be careful what to do.
Our Prabhupada says at no point in our spiritual life do we give up our intelligence. Even when we are following the instruction of spiritual master, we think, what is the real heart of the instruction? And that's what we want to follow. That's wonderful. Thank you. Anyone else before we start our chapter?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Last time you mentioned about Hari name, like what is the name, like meaning of name Hari?
Yes.
I like the point when he says Srimad Bhagavatam is both for Paramhansa as well as worldly people.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Is there anyone else? Okay. Okay, so let's start off right away with our chapter 8. Beautiful points. Thank you all for sharing. So, chapter 8 of okay, let's start text number 1. So remember, section 1 to 4 is basically the lamentation of the Pandavas and other personalities and the consolation of the Krishna actually trying to pacify them. So let's start text number 1.
Sutta uvacha atate samparitanam svanamudakam ichatam datum sakrishna gangayam puraskritya yayustriyaha.
Okay, everyone, you have your list in front of you. So please see who is the person before you, so that as soon as they read, then you can follow along. Please start. Who's the first one on this?
Hare Krishna. Translation. Sutta Goswami said, thereafter the Pandavas, desiring to deliver water to the dead relatives who had desired it, went to the Ganges with Draupadi. The ladies walked in front. Hare Krishna.
So the point here is, as I mentioned earlier also, that, it is that, yes, they are lamenting, they are feeling sufficient, they are lamenting for all, for not only the sons who were actually killed by Ashwatthama, but they are actually lamenting for all the people who were killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. It's interesting that this is one battle in which people on their side who were killed and on the other side were somehow or other related. They were on their own relatives. And Prabhupada later in one of these verses in this chapter, he actually points out that 640 million people were killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. If you actually think about it, like I was looking up, like if you see in the World War, maybe around 5 million people are killed. But imagine in this war, 640 million people were killed. And hence they were actually lamenting. And hence it says they actually offered water again. Oh, that's the next verse. Water again and again. They were offering the Ganges water. And also this says the women were actually walking in front. So Prabhupada points out that it's a custom that when they go for a funeral, women walk in front. Okay. Text number 2.
He mimiyodakam sarve vilapya cha prisham punaha apluta haribadam jan rajasputa sarichale.
So Hari Padabja Rajaha. So Hari, referring to Lord Shri Krishna himself. Padabja means the dust of the pada, or the lotus feet of Krishna. Actually, Rajaha means the dust. So dust of the lotus feet of Hari, right? And where is the dust of the lotus feet of Hari? This is actually contained in the Ganges, right? So in the Ganga we know how the story of Vamanadeva, when he actually expanded, he actually made a hole in the universe. And then the celestial Ganges came washing the feet of Vamanadeva. That's why it is said to carry the dust of the lotus feet of Krishna. Okay. Translation.
Having lamented over them and sufficiently offered Ganges water, they bathed in the Ganges, whose waters are sanctified to being mixed with the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord.
Okay. So having lamented over them and sufficiently offered. So they were offering Ganges water again and again. So many people have been killed. So they were actually offering the water. And Ganges has been described as that which actually has washed the lotus feet. So it is actually Charanamrit, right? We say Charan Amrit. It's actually something that's washed the lotus feet. Okay, text number 3.
Tatrasinam kurupatim dhritarasram sahanujam gandharim putra shokartam pritam krishnam cha madavaha.
There sat the king of the Kurus, Maharaj and Gandhari, Kunti, and Draupadi. Hi Krishna, can you hear me?
This is a voice.
You froze, Prabhu.
Yeah, you froze, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, is it okay now?
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't follow the translation. So basically, the translation said, yeah, that's the king of the Kurus and Maharaj Yudhishthira. So even like everyone was there. Yudhishthira, Maharaj, all the Pandavas were there. Then Dhritarashtra himself was there. Gandhari, Kunti, Draupadi, everyone. Those who were left after the entire battle of Kurukshetra, they were there and they were offering grief. They were lamenting. And Lord Krishna was also present there. Okay? And yeah, so Prabhupada in the purport says that this is like a family grief, because their own family relatives were actually killed in this entire battle. And the Lord also was equally sympathetic towards all of them. Therefore, he began to pacify them. Okay? The Lord was feeling sympathy for all of them. So one way it is actually Krishna's plan that this entire battle of Kurukshetra actually takes place. But now because they are lamenting, the Lord is also expressing his sympathy. And in the next verse, he's also going to say, so show how when someone passes away, we should actually offer the words. What are the three principles one has to incorporate in one's words of pacification or trying to, someone is lamenting, how do you speak to them? So three basic principles are shown in the next verse. Okay, text number 4.
Santa Vayam asamunibhir hata bandhun sucharpitan bhuteshu kalasya gatim darshayana pratikriyam.
Citing the stringent laws of the Almighty and their reactions upon living being, Lord Krishna and the Munis began to pacify those who are shocked and affected.
So he says kalasya is one word, and then the second word is actually gatim. Gatim is reaction, and the third one is na pratikriyam, remedial measures. So these are the three principles. So if you're going to console someone whose relative has passed away, one is, we speak about kalasya. Kalasya referring to the supreme law of the Almighty. That, the law of the Almighty, it cannot be altered in any way. Like even Bhagavad Gita clearly, often at the time of funeral, the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita is actually recited. Why? Because it clearly says that, like text 27 actually says, right? Jatasya hi dhruvam mrityu, dhruvam janma mritasya. The one who's taken birth is sure to die. The one who dies is sure to take birth again. So in this unavoidable change, this cycle of birth and death, there's no need for lamentation, right? So first point is, we speak from the Shastra that how, everyone, once you have taken birth, death is for sure as death. No one can avoid that. It is just the law of the Almighty. Even though, like scientists and philosophers and doctors and everyone may say that, no, we can create something that will extend your life by 10 years, 15 years. No, all those things are useless because the laws of the Almighty are stringent. It will act. No one can avoid that. That's the first thing. Second is the point about gatim. Gatim means reactions. Because, someone may lament that, he should have lived longer. He died at an early age and things like that. So second principle, we actually say it is, everything is happening by our own reactions. How long is our life? At the time of birth, it's already defined that how many breaths are we going to live? It's already defined, right? No one can change that. It is all based on our own reactions. And we are just, what we are experiencing is just the result of our own reactions, right? So that is gatim, right? So we are all under the laws of karma. We cannot escape that. That's the second principle. And third principle is na pratikriyam. Na pratikriyam means there is no remedial measure on the material side to overcome this entire thing of birth, death, etc. Right? Because sometimes people lament that, oh, if only I had a better doctor, or if only I had done this, if only I had done. And that if word actually increases the suffering of those who are lamenting. If only I had given this medicine, or if only I had taken here, and then because of that, they keep lamenting more and more and more. So the third principle is say there is no material remedial measure that can actually postpone your death or change the situation in which someone dies. Right? So these 3 points are actually shown, and Krishna is actually saying, Krishna and the Munis. So another thing is when we actually go, it is good to go with other spiritual people. That's another point that I said. Like Krishna also, he went with the Munis, and together as a group, he was actually pacifying them based on these 3 principles. And Prabhupada in the purport actually points out that the only solution, he actually comes to the point, only solution to get out of this entire cycle is one needs to cultivate spiritual knowledge. And Prabhupada in the purport very nicely says, as soon as we cultivate the spiritual knowledge, at once we become free from attachment. And at once that free from attachment can happen at once as we associate with the devotees, because the devotees actually inject the transcendental sound in the core of our heart, and that is the only way we can actually overcome this entire cycle of birth and death. Otherwise, we are all under the laws of nature. Karmani nirdhati kintucha bhakti bhajam. Starting from Brahma all the way to the instant ant, everyone is under the laws of nature except the devotees of the Lord. Yeah? So that's a proper concept. Okay? And then Prabhupada also say that how even in this lifetime we can actually be liberated. And how is that? He actually quotes a verse from the 2nd canto, 10th chapter, where it actually says, Mukti hitvana rupan swarupena vyavastitihi. Right? So swarupena vyavastitihi, and basically in that verse, Krishna actually in Bhagavatam, it actually makes the point that even in our current situation, we can actually be liberated, because liberation means to be situated in one's original constitutional position. And what is that position? That position is that of service unto Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if you are completely 100% engaged in devotional service to the Lord with our word, with our body and mind, even in this lifetime, we are actually liberated. Iha yasya harer dasya karmana manasa gira nikhila api avastha. So jivan mukta sauchati. You will be jivan mukta even in this lifetime. Right? So Prabhupada points out that we don't have to, we can actually escape that the suffering of death even in this lifetime. We can actually be liberated. Okay. So that's what Prabhupada points out in the purport. Okay. So that is our first section, where there's a lamentation and how Krishna and the Munis, they console all the people lamenting for the death of 640 million people. Can you imagine? Okay. So next section is text number 5. Okay.
Sadhayitvaja jata shatro svam rajyam kitavarhitam ghatayitva satoragya kachab sparsha kshatayushaha.
Translation.
The clever Duryodhana and his party cunningly usurped the kingdom of Yudhishthir, who had no enemy. By the grace of the Lord, the recovery was executed, and the unscrupulous kings who joined with Duryodhana were killed by him. Others also died, their duration of life having decreased for their rough handling of the hair of Queen Draupadi.
The duration of life had decreased. So here is basically kind of giving a background of the Mahabharata, how Duryodhana and his party, they actually took the kingdom of Yudhishthir. And one word is actually used to describe Yudhishthir is Ajata Shatraha. Ajata Shastraha is when one who has no enemies. And often we ask, like, Yudhishthir, how come he has no enemies? Duryodhana is there his enemy, isn't it? But the concept of Ajata Shatraha is from Yudhishthir's side. He did not see anyone as his enemies. Can you imagine the glory of King Yudhishthir, that in spite of everything that the Kauravas did, to them, starting from poisoning them, from burning them, from disrobing their wife in the assembly, still Yudhishthir Maharaj did not have a grudge against the Kauravas. He was ready to forgive them at a moment. Like, okay, it's okay. It's okay. Whatever is done is done. That is the glory of a pure devotee. And that's why Yudhishthira Maharaj is known as Ajata Shatra, one who has no enemies. There is no enemies for Yudhishthira in spite of everything. And that shows how tolerant a devotee can be. That you do anything to him, and he's still thinking that, oh, you are a part and parcel of Krishna. That is the vision of a pure devotee. It is inconceivable how devotees can be, but Yudhishthira Maharaj is showing how, true devotees, Ajata Shatra, that word is actually used, right? In the first line, Sadhavitva Ajata Shatra. Okay? So that's Yudhishthira. And then by the grace of the Lord, the recovery was executed. So everything that happened was by the mercy of the Lord. They got back their kingdom. And then also because Duryodhana and everyone else had actually distrobed Draupadi, who was actually a chaste woman, in that assembly, their duration of life was actually decreased. And Prabhupada points out in the purport that just that incident, because of that incident, to insult the chaste woman means to bring the disaster in the duration of life. Prabhupada says that was the end of the purport. So they, how much they insulted the chaste woman. And that incident itself was the defining point that everyone who was involved with this is actually going to get destroyed. So it was as sure that they did this, they're going to get destroyed. So Prabhupada in his purport, very nicely, he points out the 5 principles, the 5 categories of people who need to be protected. The first, he says, the Brahmanas should always be protected. Why? Because Brahmanas, they actually maintain the institution of Varna and Ashrama, which is so important. Prabhupada says the most scientific culture, for attaining perfection in a spiritual life. The most scientific culture is this institution of Varna and Ashrama. And Brahmanas are considered as what? The head of the Varna and Ashrama. They are the ones who have the knowledge to actually keep the systems of Varna and Ashrama in place. And hence, protection of Brahmanas is most important. Right? Second point, protection of the cows. Prabhupada actually says how cows actually provide us milk, and milk is required for maintaining the finer tissues of the brain for understanding the higher aims of life. Right? So what is the connection between cows and Brahmanas? Is actually the milk is so powerful, that by having that milk, by consuming that milk, it actually nourishes the finer tissues of the brain, which gives us the power to understand spiritual topics. And hence, protection of cows is so important. Okay? Third, protection of women. So when you protect the woman, then there is chastity of the society, okay, by which we can get good generation. So even if you remember in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna actually gives this reason, right? That if so many men are killed, then the woman will actually get polluted. And then what will have? Varna Shankar will happen. Right? There will be a population which is actually, not chaste. The children will be born without proper parents, and then there will all be, then their children will be leading the society, then everything will be chaos. That's one of the reasons Arjun thinks that we should not have this pattern. Right? So that is a woman maintains the chastity of society, by which we can get good generation for peace, tranquility, and progress. Okay. Fourth category, the protection of children. Why children must be protected? Because children, they are taking birth in this human form of life. That itself is a special gift that they are receiving. And hence that gift needs to be protected, because the children are protected, they have a very good environment, then they can take up, they understand what is the importance of human form of life, and they can take up spiritual life. And in this human form of life, they can actually attain the highest perfection. Right? So Prabhupada says that purification, that protection of the woman, it actually starts off from the day of conception by performing the Garbhadan Samskar. Imagine like how beautiful our Vedic culture is. It's not just protection of the children once they are born, but even when they are conceived, the first aspect of conception starts off by performing Garbhadan Samskar. And that is actually starting the protection of the child. Right? And the last one is actually protection of the old men. Right? Why the old men should be protected? They are so close to their final exam. So give them protection that they can 100% focus on their final exam. Okay. So these 5 categories of people should be protected. And any proper human civilization should focus on protecting these 5 kinds of people. And if you see in Kali, it is all the opposite. Wherever there is a trace of Brahmanical culture, they try to destroy it, right? Cows, you cannot even think about it. How many slaughterhouses are there? How many cows are killed every moment? Right? Women, there is no question of chastity. In the name of women getting independence, the whole society is corrupted. And children, also children, as soon as they are born, they are given this electronic gadgets which gives them the access to all the sin in the world. Right? And then the last one is old men. Old men now, like how Prabhupada actually, pointed out that he saw old men playing golf, and he actually said, what are they doing? They're so close to their final exam. They should actually take up our spiritual life. So these 5 categories of people should be protected. So this is our Vedic culture. Often, people say, "Oh, what is Vedic culture?" They don't even know. Vedic culture actually incorporates protection of these 5 kinds of people, and we know the reasons why they need to be protected. Text number 6.
Yajayit va swamedaistam tribhir uttama kalpakai tad yasha pavanam dikshu shatta manyori vatanot.
Lord Shri Krishna caused 3 well-performed Ashwamedh Yagnas or sacrifices to be conducted by Maharaja Yudhishthira, and thus caused his vigorous fame to be glorified in all directions, like that of Indra, who had performed 100 such sacrifices.
So it is describing how, after the entire battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna actually, by the mercy of Krishna, Yudhishthira Maharaj actually performed 3 Ashwamedha sacrifices. The important point here, the Prabhupada points out, that by performing 3 Ashwamedha Yagya, he became even more famous than Indra, who actually performed 100 horse sacrifices. And the important point here is, on the material side, the fame that the person receives is actually dependent on our pious activities. That is, the fame is also a result of the activity that we perform. So if someone is doing a lot of pious activity, then maybe one of the results that we get is fame. But for devotees of the Lord, that fame that they're getting is not by their material piety. Krishna can make any devotee famous. If a devotee is sincere, and like Krishna can just make him so famous that, like we see in our, like even in our current circle, if you see like devotees like Gaur Gopal Prabhu, and I remember I was last time in Calcutta, and I just got off the airport and I started, we were in taxi, we just went out, and big billboard, and it was saying, and Gaur Gopal's photo there, Prabhu's photo there, and they say like, oh, special class, everyone should attend, register here. Like devotees are becoming so popular. And then you have like Gauramani Mataji, she has like 2 million followers on Facebook, and so on. So it is more than the talent that the person has. It is actually Krishna's mercy that he glorifies people based on, how they can use that glorification in Krishna's service. So Indra, he had to perform 100 horse sacrifices, but you still just perform 3, and he became even more glorious. Why? Because he is a devotee of Lord Shri Krishna. Right? So that's the point Prabhupada explained in the purport. Okay, next text number 7.
Amantra Pandaputramscha Shainedyo Samyutaha Dvaipayanadipir Viprai Pujitai Pratipujitaha.
Lord Shri Krishna then prepared for his departure. He invited the sons of Pandu. After having been worshipped by the Brahmanas headed by Srila Vyasadeva, the Lord also reciprocated greetings.
Okay. So one more point in the purport, in the previous verse, Prabhupada actually made the point that devotees of the Lord are more glorified than the other people because they are always in contact with Krishna, who is all great, the Supreme, who is the possessor of all the opulences. And also, last sentence actually says, those who are 100% devotees of the Lord get full-fledged mercy of the Lord, which is always equally distributed everywhere. So this theme of how the Lord is impartial, his mercy is equally distributed everywhere. But those who are devotees, they are proper receptacles to receive that mercy. Just like how the sun, rays are everywhere, but some, we'll come to this later in Kunti Maharani's prayers also, that some objects may absorb the sunshine, and some of them may just reflect the sunshine. But that is not partiality on the part of the sun. That is actually based on the how receptive we are to the mercy of the Lord. The Lord is equally distributing his mercy everywhere. Okay? So that point we'll discuss elaborately, but Prabhupada actually makes a point in the previous purport. So text 7 actually says, then Lord Krishna prepared for his departure. This comes again and again. That Krishna is like, okay, I have spent so much time here, now I need to go back to Dwarka. And he'll say, I'll go to Dwarka, and then something else. I'll go to Dwarka, something else, right? So now he's ready to go to Dwarka. And here he says, after having been worshipped by the Brahmanas, headed by Srila Vyasadeva. So the Lord, like though Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and normally like Krishna is a Kshatriya as such in his role of that Varna and Ashrama, he's playing the role of a Kshatriya, but still he accepted worship from the Brahmanas. But that is not the normal system that the Brahmanas will worship the Kshatriyas. But the Brahmanas knew that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and hence they actually worship him. Right? Prabhupada also makes the point that normally when Krishna is here, he actually follows all the system of Varna and Ashrama, because the system is so important. Yad Acharya Shreshtas Tat Tat Eva Taranam, 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita points out that Krishna himself follows all these principles so that generations to come can actually follow the principle of Varna and Ashrama. So Krishna also follows. But here, because the Brahmanas knew Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they worship. Okay. Text number 8.
Gantum Kritamatir Brahman Dvarakam Ratam Astitaha Upalebhe Bidhavantim Uttaram Bhaya Vivalam.
Go ahead, translation.
As soon as he seated himself on the chariot to start for Dwarka, he saw Uttara hurrying toward him in fear.
Right. So the word is actually Bhaya Vivalam. Bhaya means fear. Vivalam means she was overcome with fear. Right. So he just sat on the chariot and he was ready to go. And then Uttara came running in fear to actually Krishna. Okay. So why did she come in running in fear? Text number 9.
Utrovacha Pahi Pahi Mahayogi Deva Deva Jagatpate Nanyam Tvad Abhayam Pashye Yatra Mrityu Parasparam.
Very nice verse. Pahi Pahi Mahayogi. Pahi Pahi means, oh, please protect me, protect me. Mahayogi means the greatest yogi, the greatest mystic, right? Deva Deva, oh Lord of the Lords. Jagatpate, oh Lord of the entire universe, right? So if you remember last time's theme, when we actually, last chapter when we covered, when Arjun saw the Brahma, that heat coming towards him, that fire that was covering the whole universe, first he actually offers prayers to Krishna, right? He glorifies Krishna. And similarly, and we discussed that point in Prabhupada, how he says, this is the standard etiquette to approach such a great personality as Krishna himself, that first we will actually glorify him, and then we will actually make our request. Right? We read that theme in the previous verses. In chapter 7, 4 verses, Arjun actually glorifies Krishna. Oh, Krishna, you are above the 3 modes of material nature. You are the supreme creator, and so on. Right? So here also, Uttara, she's seeing that Brahmastra actually coming to kill the baby in her womb, and she's actually making the point. She's glorifying Krishna. Pahi Pahi Mahayogi, Deva Deva Jagatpate. So for Mahayogi, Deva Deva Jagatpate. Right? So 3 glories of Krishna have been there. Nanyat Tvad Abhayam Pashye. Na Anyat, right? So no one else. Na Anyat, right? So no one else. Abhayam Pashye. Right? I cannot see anyone else who can actually give me that fearlessness. Abhaya. Yatra Mrityu Parasparam. Right? Who can actually give fearlessness from Mrityu. Did we read the translation? Okay, maybe translation.
Sure. Uttara said, O Lord of the universe, you are the greatest of mystics. Please protect me, for there is no one else who can save me from the clutches of death in this world of duality.
Yeah. So yes, the aspect of glorification is that. That's one point. Second point is that exclusive dependence on Krishna. This is a theme that is coming in chapter 7, chapter 8 now with Uttara's episode and with Queen Kunti's episode. So if you see this entire section of the Bhagavatam is pointing out that, yes, it's pointing out that the more we are dependent on the protection of the Lord, the more the Lord actually reciprocates by giving us protection. This is a very important point that yes, in the material world, there's so many anxieties, so many problems will come. The nature of the world, we cannot avoid it. The problems will come. This is a place of miseries and anxieties. Problems will come, but how do we deal with the problems? Yes, we do what is the needful. Like, we have some sickness, we take the medicine. But the point is, we do not put hope in those treatments. We do not put hope on the material solution. Our hope is only Krishna. That's why when Prahlad Maharaj, he actually makes this prayer, Balasya Neha Pitaro Narsimha. Even the best parents cannot protect the child. Even the best doctor, best medicine cannot protect the patient. Even the best boat cannot protect a person from drowning. Because everything is by the will of God. And again with Arjun, Uttara, Kunti, same point is actually made. The more we are declaring our dependence, Krishna, only you can protect me. Only you, in quotes, only you, exclusive protection of Krishna. The more we accept that, the more Krishna reciprocates by giving us protection. So I wanted to make this point and then go back to previous purport of text 8. And I'm going to just read the purport, this short purport. All the members of the family of Pandavas were completely dependent, right? So if you think about Uttara's case, her own father-in-law, yes, father-in-law is Arjun, the great warrior, right? And then all the Pandavas, Bhimsen is there. How powerful is Bhimsen? Why did she not go to Arjun? Why did she not go to Bhimsen? Why did she not go to the Pandavas? She went only to Krishna. Right? To show that point of exclusive surrender to Krishna, right? So it says, we're completely dependent on protection of Krishna, and therefore, Lord, and therefore, because it was Krishna, you're our only protector, Krishna said, okay, because this person thinks that only I can protect him, completely I will give him protection. Therefore, the Lord protected all of them in all circumstances. The Lord protects everyone, but one who depends completely upon him is especially looked after by the Lord. One who depends completely upon him is especially looked after by the Lord. The father is more attentive to a child who is exclusively dependent on the father. Okay? So we do so many things, right? Whatever material things are there. It's not that, I have a pain in my leg and, then say, okay, Krishna will protect me. I don't take my medicine. No. You do the needful, but put hope only in Krishna. Whether the medicine will work, not work, it is all dependent on Krishna. Right? It's not that okay, so I end with that one. Right? So this point, remember, meditate on this point in chapter 7 and 8, how this exclusive dependence on the Lord is actually shown by the devotees of the Lord. So, na anyad, no one else except you, Krishna, can give me protection. Right? And it's not that Arjun is thinking that, oh, I am here. Why is she going to Krishna? No, even the Pandavas understand the mood of exclusive dependence on Krishna. Okay, text number 10.
Abhi dravati mamisha sharastabdaya sho vibhu kaman dahatu mam nata mame karbo nipatyatam.
Translation.
O my Lord, you are all powerful. A fiery iron arrow is coming towards me fast. My Lord, let it burn me personally, if you so desire. But please do not let it burn and abort my embryo. Please do me this favor, my Lord.
So, ma me garbha nipatyatam. Ma me garbha. Garbha means womb, right? Nipatyatam, about it. So, may this child in the womb be protected. Like the point that Prabhupada and also our Acharyas say, that, Uttara's position was that her husband was killed in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Abhimanyu was killed, right? So normally when the husband is killed, in Vedic system, because the wives are so attached to the husband, they normally willfully, give up their life when the husband also leaves. So one may say that, that was her duty. If it's really attached to her husband, that was her duty. She should have given up. And now when death is coming, why is she so eager to save herself? Her husband is not there. She doesn't have a child. So she's clearly making the point. Actually, I don't care about myself. But the baby in my womb, he's your pure devotee. He is Maharaj Parikshit, right? So please protect him. And this also points out the love of a mother for her child. When we talk of that exclusive shelter, when we talk of selfless, relationships, where can we experience that in this material world? Like in our devotion, we talk of Ananya Bhakti. Where can we see that in this material world? If there is no example in material world, how can we even relate to that? That can a relationship really be selfless? But we see that in the example of a mother and a child. A mother is willing to give up her own life to protect her child. That's why Prabhupada makes the point that the relationship between a mother and child is the closest relationship to actually a pure spiritual relationship. Because we see that exclusive love of the mother for a child. She's willing to do anything to protect her child. And here we see Uttara making the point that, I don't care for myself. Let me burn personally. I don't care. But my womb, please protect the child. Please do me this favor, my Lord. Okay. And then Prabhupada says, the mother of a child has a great responsibility in giving all protection to a child. Therefore, Uttara was not ashamed to express this frankly before Krishna. Normally, again, going back to the point that Uttara's husband is killed. So, one way she should not have approached Krishna for protection, but she's concerned about her child in the womb. Okay. So, text number 11.
Sutta uvacha upadharya vachastasya bhagavan bhaktavatsalah apandavam idam kartum dronar astram abhudyata.
Suta Goswami said, having patiently heard her words, Lord Sri Krishna, who is always very affectionate to his devotees, could at once understand that Ashwathama, the son of Dronacharya, had thrown the Brahmastra to finish the last life in the Pandava family.
So, when you are reading this entire thing, imagine a Brahmastra is coming, and then, what is our mood? Because we are so in the mode of passion, like, Abhi, do something right now, right? But Vedic culture, you see, is so much a culture of goodness, and goodness means patience. Goodness actually means patience. And here we see Krishna patiently heard. Yes, the Brahmastra is coming. Uttara is composing beautiful verses. What is it? The previous verse. Pahi Pahi Mahayogi Deva Deva Jagatpati. Such a beautiful verse is composing, and Krishna is patiently hearing. Yes, Brahmastra is coming, and they are having this nice, sweet relationship there, right? That is the mode of goodness. Goodness means patience. Right? So Krishna patiently heard, and then he actually Krishna, who is Bhagwan Bhakta Vatsala. Again, that same point. Exclusive shelter of Krishna. Krishna is very dear to his devotee. Who's always affectionate to his quality. He likes to be called as Bhakta Vatsala, who is very affectionate to his devotees. Could at once understand that Ashwathama, right, had thrown the Brahmastra to finish the last life in the Pandava family. And we read the entire episode of Ashwathama, how he released the Brahmastra, and then Arjun had to release the Brahmastra, the entire thing, and the whole episode where Ashwathama was, his hair was cut off, the jewel was taken away. In spite of that, Ashwathama has now released the Brahmastra. Actually, he released two one way we can say he released 6, but it's like 2. One Brahmastra to kill the baby in the womb, and another Brahmastra which actually divided into 5, kill all the 5 Pandavas. Ashwathama did that, right? So, had thrown the Brahmastra to finish the last life in the Pandava. Prabhupada in the first sentence, so beautiful. The Lord is impartial in every respect. So this impartiality we'll discuss in Queen Kunti's prayers. But still, he's inclined to his devotees. Why is he so inclined to his devotees? Because there is a great necessity of this for everyone's well-being. When devotees are protected, then everyone else will actually get the benefit. And because everyone is so dear to Krishna, even atheists, they are actually dear. They are all children of Krishna. So Krishna loves everyone. And if the devotees are there, then all his children are actually benefited. And hence Krishna gives special protection to all his devotees. And it's true, like wherever a devotee is, he actually, the pure devotee, wherever he goes, he creates a place of pilgrimage. Right? When Prabhupada, wherever he travels, people just by seeing him at the airport, people just by seeing Prabhupada got spiritual benefit. I often like this one episode where one Prabhupada disciple Mataji is narrating memories. She said, like Prabhupada, the first time she was seeing Prabhupada, he arrived at the airport, and then everyone in front of her, like devotees, loud kirtan, everyone dancing, and then she could just see Prabhupada from a distance. And first time she saw Prabhupada, she was crying and crying. And then she, offered obeisances and stood up, and she was like so much, feeling emotions for Prabhupada. And then she looked behind her. The airport was all like full. She looked behind her, and two businessmen, like full suit and tie and everything. Not devotees, nothing. They had no connection to devotees. She looked behind, and they were crying. She was thinking, like, these people, they have no contact with Krishna, no contact with anything, and they are crying, seeing a pure devotee. So wherever devotees are, that actually creates auspiciousness for everyone else present there. So hence Krishna gives special protection to his devotees, because by the presence of devotees, everyone is actually benefited. Okay, text 12.
Taryevata Munishrishta Pandava Pancha Sakyakan Atmano Bimukhan Diptan Al Lakshyatran.
The translation.
O foremost among the great thinkers, Munis, Shanaka, seeing the glaring Brahmastra proceeding towards them, the Pandavas took up their 5 respective weapons.
Right, so Ashwatthama, he leads one Brahmastra, which actually divided into 5, going towards each one of the Pandavas. So even the Pandavas, they saw this coming, they actually took up their weapon. Right? Actually, only Arjun knew the signs of counteracting a Brahmastra, but all the other Pandavas, seeing that coming, they actually took up their weapon. Okay, text 13.
Vyasanam vikshatatesham ananya vishayatmanam sudarshanena swastrena svanam raksham yadhad vibhuhu.
Who is next?
Shri Balaji Prabhu.
The Almighty Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, having observed that a great danger was befalling his unalloyed devotees, who were fully surrendered souls, at once took up his Sudarshana disc to protect them.
So again, the point about how Personality of Godhead, having observed that a great danger was befalling his unalloyed, Ananya Bhaktas, right? And their danger was coming, he actually at once took up his Sudarshan. So he says, Swanam means his own devotees. When his own devotees are in trouble, then Krishna gives complete raksham, right? He gives full protection to them. So he actually did what? Swa Astrena. He took up his own Astrena, which is what? Sudarshan, which is actually the wheel of the Sudarshan. Okay. So he took the Sudarshan Chakra to protect all the Pandavas. And how did he protect Ashwatthama in the womb? Text number 14.
Antasta sarva bhutanam atma yogeshvaro harihi swamayaya vrinod garbham vairatya kurutantave.
Okay, one point in the previous purport, also Prabhupada uses stress on the word that Ananya Vishayatmana. So this is significant. What the Pandavas, the sent person dependent on the protection of the Lord. Again and again the same thing. How we just completely, Krishna, you are there, everything is good. Completely, exclusively dependent on Krishna on our protection. Right? In second canto, first chapter, actually, Sukdev Goswami, when he starts speaking to Parikshit Maharaj, he actually points out that people take shelter of so many things in this material. Right? They take shelter of their house, their property, their relatives, their intelligence, their bank balance, their insurance, car insurance, house insurance, fire insurance, all these things. People take shelter of all that, right? But all of them are actually false shelter. Only shelter is Krishna. Right? So that point is again and again being established in this section of the Bhagavatam. So, and then also another point Prabhupada points out that in the previous purport, that he took up the weapon. So the battle of Kurukshetra one way is over, right? But still, this is the final part of the battle. So Krishna took up the vow, what? I will not take up weapons. So Krishna is again breaking his vow by taking up the Sudarshan Chakra, right? And Krishna does not mind breaking his vow for the protection of his pure devotees, right? So the last sentence is purport. He says, but the emergency was more important than the vow. So in front of the emergency of his dear devotees being harmed, he threw out his vow. Forget my vow. He's better. Last sentence I'm reading. He's better known as Bhakta Vatsala, or lover of his devotee, and thus he preferred to continue as Bhakta Vatsala than to be known as one who is actually a worldly moralist who keeps his vows. Krishna doesn't care about breaking his vows. He says, more important than that, I am the Bhakta Vatsala. I am dear to my devotee. I want the whole world to know me as Bhakta Vatsala. Not so much as a worldly moralist that, oh, whatever happened, Krishna kept his vow. That is secondary. Krishna doesn't even care. More important is Bhakta Vatsala. And hence he broke the vow by taking his weapon. Right? Even in the Mahabharata, we remember when Bhishma, he actually made those 5 arrows to kill the 5 Pandavas, right? And Krishna is very expert. He sent Arjun and said, when you actually saved Duryodhana, he actually gave you a vow that, anytime you need anything, please ask. I will give it to you. And then Arjun came to Duryodhana's camp in the night and said, give me those 5 arrows. He said, how do you know? He said, Krishna is there and Krishna will give protection, right? And then next day, Bhishma came to Duryodhana and said, where are the 5 arrows? Give it to me. Because Duryodhana said, let me keep those 5 arrows. They'll be very safe with me, right? And then Bhishma came to Duryodhana and said, okay, give me the 5 arrows. Time to go and fight in the battle of Kurukshetra. He said, Arjun took it. So Bhishma knew this is the glory of Krishna. Who Krishna is protecting, no one can actually do it. But that day, Bhishma actually took this vow. Either the Pandavas will be killed or Arjun or Krishna has to pick up a weapon. He knew for sure Pandavas are not going to be killed. So he wanted to see Krishna break his vow to actually prove the point that Krishna is always Bhakta Vatsala. Right? And then later on in the next chapter, we'll read how Bhishma Pitama is meditating on Krishna, lifting the wheel of the chariot and coming towards him with his body covered with the dust from the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Very beautiful meditation that Bhishma had, which will come in the next chapter. But the main point here is Krishna doesn't mind breaking his vow for his devotees, right? For protection of his devotees. So more important than Bhakta Vatsala. Okay? So 14, we read the Sanskrit. Let's do a translation.
The Lord of Supreme Mysticism, Shri Krishna, resides within everyone's heart as Paramatma. As such, just to protect the progeny of the Kuru dynasty, he covered the embryo of Uttara by his personal energy.
Krishna is there in everyone's heart. He is there in the heart of Uttara also as Paramatma. So one may say yes, there's a Brahmastra coming to Uttara, killing the baby Parikshit in the womb. But, Krishna is there as Paramatma, so he can give protection, right? So the point here is actually said, yes, he is. That's why the word is used, Yoga Ishvara. He is the supreme Lord of supreme mystic power, Yoga Ishvara. So as such, yes, he is there in Paramatma, but just to protect the progeny of Kuru dynasty, he covered the embryo of Uttara by his personal energy. So Krishna himself, he actually entered the womb, right? It is described in the size of a thumb. We'll read this further in the first canto. Later on, around 12th, 13th chapter, it comes where it describes that Krishna, he entered and his size was the size of a thumb, Angula, it says that. So he entered in that form, and by his own energy, he actually protected the womb. He covered the womb by his personal energy. So even though the Brahmastra, which is the strongest weapon in the material realm, And Krishna is protecting. Rakhe Krishna, Mare Ke. Krishna is protecting. Who can kill you? Okay. And then Mare Krishna, Rakhe Ke. Krishna wants to kill you. No one can. Okay. So Krishna, this is how he protected Parikshit Maharaj, and also he's protected the 5 Pandavas by his own Sudarshan Chakra, and also by personally entering into the womb of Uttara and covering her womb by his own internal energy, by his own potency. He uses Yoga Maya potency, Swa Mayaya, so that even Uttara was unaware of what he actually did. Okay, 15.
Yadyapyastram brahmashiras tvamogham cha pratikriyam vaishnavam teja asadya samsham yad brigudvaha.
Hare Krishna. Oh Saunaka, although the supreme Brahmastra weapon released by Aswadvama was irresistible and without a check or counteraction, it was neutralized and foiled when confronted by the strength of Vishnu, Lord Krishna.
Right? So it is the strongest weapon. It's actually said to be Amogha. Amogha means there is no counteraction to Brahmastra. Right? In the previous chapter, when Ashwatthama released the Brahmastra, then Krishna actually said the only weapon that can counteract or stop this Brahmastra is Anabrahmastra. There's no weapon superior to that. Right? But for Krishna, what is that? Even the strongest weapon of this material world is nothing. Krishna just easily, even though it was Amogha and Apratikriya, it cannot be counteracted. For Krishna, he easily neutralized. Sama Shamya, easily neutralized that. For Krishna, what is that? Any material energy is all under his control. So he can easily do that, right? Okay, so text 16 further talks about the same point.
Mamam sthaye tad asharyam sarvascharyam maye chute ya idam maya ya devya srijadyavati hantyajaha.
O Brahmanas, do not think this to be especially wonderful in the activities of the mysterious and infallible personality of Godhead. By his own transcendental energy, he maintains and annihilates all material things, although he himself is unborn.
So Ma Mamsta he etad asharyam. Ma means do not, like Ma Suchaha, right? 1866 Krishna said, do not, right? So do not be very much surprised by this Asharya. Do not be Asharya by this, that how Krishna, he actually entered into the womb, and Brahmastra is such a powerful weapon. Like imagine, like particularly for Kshatriyas, they hear the word Brahmastra and it's really like no counteraction, right? Such a powerful weapon. How is it possible that Krishna actually just like entered in the size of a thumb and counteracted? How is it possible? Mas Asharya. Do not be, very much amazed by this. Why? Because Krishna is, do not think they're especially wonderful in the activities of the mysterious and infallible, because Krishna himself is Asharyamaya. He's all mysterious, and Achyuta is actually infallible. And, we see this entire material creation just by his glance, or just by actually his breathing, all the material universes are coming into existence. Just by the glance, all the material universes are activated, right? So what is impossible for the Lord? All his actions that are due is actually wonderful for us, and thus he is always beyond the range of our conceivable limits, right? So this actually makes the Prabhupada stresses on this point that, the Lord's activities are inconceivable. With our tiny brains, we cannot understand this. We just have to accept, yes, the Lord is the supreme. He is Achyuta, he is infallible, he is also inconceivable, and hence, what do? We just offer our obeisances to the Lord, right? So this is actually the first theme of Queen Kunti's prayers, where she actually glorifies the Lord, particularly for this episode. And then she says, like, who can understand you? Who can understand you? No one can. You are inconceivable, hence we offer obeisances. So we'll come to that point. But here Prabhupada makes the point that how the activities are always inconceivable. Anything the Lord does is always wonderful. Right? Okay. Text 17, and then we'll take a break, because 18 onwards, the prayers of Queen Kunti will start. Okay. 17.
Brahmatejo vinirmuktar atmajay saha krishnaya prayana bhimukam krishnam idam aha pratasati.
Okay. Translate.
Thus saved from the radiation of the Brahmastra, Kunti, the chaste devotee of the Lord, and her 5 sons, and Draupadi addressed Lord Krishna as he started for home.
Again, Krishna is like, okay, now time to go. again, we read the same thing. Even previously we read, right? He was ready on the chariot to go Uttarakhand. Now again, he's like, okay, now I should go back to Dwarka, right? So as soon as he started from home, then who came? Kunti, the chaste devotee of the Lord. So the introduction of Kunti in the Bhagavatam is actually used by the word Sati. Sati means a chaste and devoted servant of the Lord, devotee of the Lord. And yeah, she's also here addressed as, and her 5 sons and Draupadi address Krishna as we start from home. So from next verse, it is actually Queen Kunti's prayers, 18 up to 44, right? So again, to complete this section of exclusive dependence on the Lord, we'll just read a couple sentences in the middle of the purport, almost like line number 5. It says, they knew nothing but Krishna, and therefore the Lord was also always ready to help them in all this. So if a devotee, and in all circumstances, so if a devotee knows, I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, then the Lord says, okay, because he knows no one but me, then I will actually reciprocate completely, 100%. But if we say like, okay, yes, Krishna, 50%, and then 50% my material aspect, then Krishna says, okay, if that is your dependence, then I'll reciprocate to that extent, right? Then further Prabhupada says, that is the transcendental nature of the Lord. He reciprocates the dependence of the devotee. You can just memorize this one sentence. Krishna reciprocates the dependence of the devotee. So any situation that we are facing in this material world, it may be starting from a simple headache or stomach pain, anything. All those small situations, 2 big situations, are opportunities for us to declare our dependence on Krishna. Like Krishna, you are the only protector. At least at a sadhaka stage, we can actually pray that anything happens, we say, we actually take shelter of Krishna, take shelter of Krishna, take shelter of Krishna. Again and again, we are trying to take shelter of Krishna. Right? We are declaring our dependence on Krishna. So that is the theme of this verse, and that theme will be further glorified by Queen Kunti's prayers. Okay. So let's see. It's 8:18. I want to do a few prayers before we take our break. But let's just go around, and I don't see any hands raised, so I don't think there are any questions. Unless you have a question, or let's just share anything that you like from this section. Vijay Mati.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I really like the point from text 8. The Lord protects everyone, but one who depends completely upon him is especially looked after by the Lord.
Like, so the whole point is declaring our dependence on the Lord. It is more of something that we need to do from our heart, irrespective of the external situation. We just have to declare, yes, Krishna, you are my only protector. And this is actually one of the aspects of Sharanagati, right? 6 limbs of Sharanagati. I hope everyone knows, right? One of the aspects is Avashya Rakhi with Krishna. Krishna will always give me protection. So having that mood. So that's one aspect of Sharanagati. Okay, next, Vijay Mati and Vijay Radhika.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I like the point that how Krishna is Bhakta-Vatsala, and for that he can do anything. He can even break his vows. He was not like Bhishma Pitama, who even if Draupadi was insulted in the assembly of the Kurus, he was just keeping quiet. So, and Prabhuji, I have a question. So in the beginning we read that how they were offering the water of Ganges, because there were so many people were killed in the battle of Kurukshetra. Prabhuji, I have a question. Why people say that when there is a death in the family, don't go to the temple for so many days or something?
Actually, that's a point that is explained when there's a death in the family, particularly a close relative. It is said that entire, there is an aspect of, there is contamination in that entire family. Because the whole process of birth, even in the time of birth, they say, even in a newborn baby, because the entire process of birth, death, it's actually considered like that entire period. So anyone who is actually closely related to that is said to be like, in a state of contamination. And hence it says like when there's a birth in the family or when there's death in the family, with the not go to the temple because your state is not in the pure state. You're contaminated either with many times it is contamination also because of our emotions, right? Someone close by, all you can think about is like that person. And so our consciousness is contaminated and also the state itself is considered contaminated. So based on Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, they have different recommendations of how many days they are actually supposed to stay away from the temple. But for us, like one way I have seen that devotees do not give so much importance to this principle. Because like particularly for us more important is our service to Krishna. So we can maintain as much as we can, but Prabhupada has not stressed on this principle too much.
I was thinking, Prabhu, we should go to the temple and pray for the soul who has departed.
That's like a higher principle. The principle of pure bhakti. In that stage, we actually go to temple. But also, we don't completely neglect such principles. We try to do it based on service. But the prayer for for departed, that's why when someone passes away, the devotees go to that person, and there they recite let's say second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, or they do kirtan for the person. Thank you. Vijay Radha.
I also wanted to say the same thing where Krishna's Bhakta and he even ready to break his own vows. But I had one question about why is he protecting the womb of Uttara, not Uttara herself, because she's carrying the baby, right? So will she not be affected by the Brahmastra? Just a question that came to my mind.
Yeah, certainly he's protecting Uttara also. He's protecting the baby in the womb, and Uttara also is given protection. Uttara's mood is I don't care for my life, but I care more for the baby in the womb. Right? And Krishna, by actually entering the womb and protecting Parikshit, because the Brahmastra is actually very directed. You can say, I want to direct Brahmastra to this particular person. Right now, we don't have such weapons where you can say this bullet should only go to this person. You don't have that technology. But that time they had that technology where they can think of a person and say so wherever that person is hiding, that Brahmastra will go and kill him. So the Brahmastra was directed for that baby in the womb. So by protecting that baby, Krishna has already protected Uttara.
Thank you. Very, very nice explanation.
Thank you. Okay, Domi.
Yes, I liked how text 17, how it describes Queen Kunti's mood being a chaste devotee, that she doesn't look, she only knows Krishna, and they just fully dependent on Krishna, that mood. I think it's really beautiful. I have a quick question. It's kind of connected to chapter 7 also. If it's okay to ask.
Let's see. I want to also, maybe one question you can ask. Remaining, maybe you can take it on the group also, because I want to keep the flow of, ask one question.
Okay.
Then you can add it.
So I can ask later then.
You can ask one if it is relevant to our reading right now.
Yeah, so in the text 6, chapter 8, how it says about this, mainly the Lord is equal to everyone, but devotee is more glorified. How the sun rays are equally distributed, but there are some places where it's always dark. So this related to, there's a question, closed book question to chapter 7, how existence of darkness depends on the existence of the sun. So is it how it explains here? I was not sure why existence of darkness depends on the existence of the sun.
Mm-hmm.
But here it says when there's sun, there are some places are always dark.
Yeah.
Is this the answer?
So we'll come to that point, because this example of the sun, I'm going to speak more, right? So there are 2 points that I explained. One is Krishna Surya Sama Maya Hai Andhakar. So one is Krishna himself is compared to light, and the absence of light is darkness. You know, darkness itself is not like a separate element. Like light is a separate energy that's emanating. Absence of light is darkness, right? Similarly, Maya itself, one can say, absence of Krishna consciousness means Maya. So that is one example. The second example, which is pointed out here, is using the example of the sun to actually point out that sun does not discriminate. That, okay, here is a rock, here is a tree, here is water, here is a person of low character, here is a person of good character. It doesn't discriminate. Everyone, it actually gives the sun rays equally. So that example is used to point out that how Krishna's mercy is open for everyone. So it's like two different examples. One is the example of Krishna and Maya. Right? Krishna is compared to light, Maya is compared to darkness. So absence of Krishna is Maya or ignorance. The second example is how Krishna's mercy is open to everyone, and that is also saying how the sun shines, it gives its sunshine to everyone. It does not make any discrimination. So there are two separate examples. Right? And we'll actually point out, I actually wrote down, I was coming to examples, there are like 6 different examples of the sun that are used to our scriptures. And I was thinking we'll mention that because next time we look at the sun, we meditate, we can remember these 6 qualities that have been used. Okay, so we'll come to that. Okay, so let's see the time, 8:27. Okay, maybe, yeah, I see devotees are posting, they're eager to start going into these prayers. Okay, let's take one last point. Remember, yeah,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I like the text 9 point, Pahi Pahi Mahayogin. It's like more we depends on Lord Krishna, then more he reciprocates us. That is the main point.
Yes, yes, wonderful. Right? So you should remember that one point. He reciprocates the dependence of the more we are dependent on Krishna, more
depends.
Okay. Thank you all so much. So we'll stop with the exchange now and we'll start with prayers. Okay. So do you feel you need a quick break or are we ready to continue? Like we can take a break in 25 minutes.
5-minute break, Prabhu.
Huh?
Yeah, a quick break.
Okay, so let's do a quick break. Let's not go till 8:35. Please come back soon. 8:33, let's say. Okay. Please take a quick
Thank you.
Yeah.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone together, a little louder, everybody. A little louder, I can't hear you. One more time, a little louder, everyone together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so welcome back everyone. Let me start. How many of you already started reading this chapter 8, meditating on those prayers? Anyone already ahead in their reading? No? Okay. But please, I hope everyone is keeping up. Most important aspect is your personal study of the Bhagavatam. Yes, attending the class, and you have to do a closed book exam, open exam. But your personal everyday reading is like the most crucial aspect of this. So I hope everyone is keeping up with their reading and everyone has really studied up to chapter 7. So if you are unable to do due to some reason, please contact another student on this group, and then you can actually do it as a pair, or someone can help you. But that reading is really important. Your self-study every day is like the most crucial aspect of Bhagavatam. Actually, the closed book exam has been made very easy for you because you already have the questions, and I'm just following what ISKCON Education Board actually has instructed me. But if it was for me, I would have preferred I just compile own questions, based on the reading, because then that really makes you, inspires you to study every day. But please keep up with the reading, everyone. And so that's why, if you give a break, then it's hard to catch up. So it's important that every day you keep up with your reading. So I hope up to chapter 7, everyone has studied. In case you have missed certain time, please give extra time and cover up and catch up, because it's so important to keep up with the flow. Because the more we keep pending, then it will be at the stage with so much that it'll be hard to go back, right? So, okay, so let's start. Queen Kunti ki jai. So I will share my screen. This is from your Subodhini, but I'll share it so you can actually see it on the screen itself. So everyone can see my screen? Yeah, okay. So there are 6 different sections of Queen Kunti's prayer. This is something that is just, devotees have actually divided into 6 different sections so that you can easily follow. So first section is actually 3 verses, knowing the Lord, knowing the Supreme Personality of God. The second one, Queen Kunti actually talks about how she's fortunate, and she compares her fortune with Mother Devaki. If you see, Queen Kunti is the aunt, right, of Krishna. Krishna is a nephew because Queen Kunti is the sister of Vasudeva. Right? Queen Kunti is the sister of Vasudeva, but she's a daughter of King Surasena. But because the cousin of King Surasena did not have a child, so Kunti was raised by the cousin of Surasena, and she got the name Kunti. But she's actually the brother of Vasudeva. Right? So she's actually comparing her fortune with fortune of Vasudeva and Devaki. So that is the second section, where she compares her fortune. Third section is what are the qualifications to approach the Lord. Right? What are qualifications to approach the Lord? So 3 verses there. Then fourth section is how the Lord's nature is inconceivable. Right? So what the Lord actually has contradicting qualities. So anyway, we'll come just to give an example, how the Lord is like, he's unborn, but still he himself says, Janma Karma Chame Divya. Right? So Lord has no Janma. He's unborn, he's Ajar. But still he actually takes birth. So there are so many contradicting qualities in Krishna, and those contradicting qualities actually glorify Krishna. So that is the fourth section. Okay. Then fifth section is opinion on Lord's word. So from Bhagavad Gita we know Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Dushkrita. But here Queen Kunti is actually giving actually 6 different reasons. There are only 5 shown on the chart. But 6 different reasons why she thinks Krishna appeared. And finally, in text 35, she actually gives the real reason why Krishna appears. Text 35. Okay. And the last section is a more personal section where Queen Kunti is actually saying that we want more of your association, very personal from her heart. She's actually revealing her heart to Krishna. Right? So if you see the aspects, so what aspects are there in prayer? One is actually of obeisances. Right? And we are saying Namaha, we are offering obeisances. One section is glorification, that we are glorifying the Supreme Personality of God. Right? One section is what is my qualification to approach the Lord, right? And then one section is what is finally a request from the Lord, right? So there are different sections of prayer, and we'll see all these different sections in prayers of Queen Kunti. Okay. Okay, so let's start with text number 18. Okay, so before we also go to text 18, it is important to understand Queen Kunti's life in relationship to Krishna. Right? So just briefly, I'll mention how Queen Kunti, anyway, I won't go through like the Durvasa episode. But anyway, okay, let's start off with this part. Like, Queen Kunti had that entire episode with Karna. Right? So at the starting itself, she had to like give up her own child, which was born from Suryadev, right? And she had that benediction from Durvasa Muni. You can invoke any demigod by a prayer. And she invoked Suryadev, and Suryadev, I cannot just go and, you just tested it, but I am here. So I'll give you a son. And it was born from the year. So it's Karna. But she had to give up her own son. So imagine a mother giving up her own first child, So, okay. So that was one thing. And later on, she got married to Pandu. But then Pandu also had that curse that he could not actually unite with his wives, because it said as soon as you unite, that's it. Your time is over. So another, she had another thing. She could not unite with her husband. Right? Then after that, Pandu could not resist one day, and then he actually united with Madri, and then he passed away. And Queen Kunti was left with these, and then Madri also, she followed Pandu. She also gave up her life. So Queen Kunti was left with these 5 children, right, in the forest. And then later on, she came to the palace, and Dhritarashtra was there with her 5 children. But throughout that time, it wasn't that, she's the queen one way. She's the wife of Pandu. She's the queen. She has these children. But she was never actually given that position that you are actually the queen here. Your son are actually the true, future, true king to be, the next king to be. Right? it was always throughout her existence, like throughout the time, she was either like her children were tried to be poisoned, and then Kunti was not given respect, and all Dhritarashtra and the Kauravas always had this mood of envy towards Pandavas. And in 10th canto, there's an episode where Akrura comes to see, Krishna sends Akrura to see how are things at Hastinapur. And then that Kunti actually reveals her heart. Throughout my life, how much suffering I have gone through. It's just like suffering one after another. And then after that, she was in palace. Then they were sent to that house of Lack, where she was with her sons. They were trying to burn. And then after that, then she was in the forest for some time. Imagine she's a queen. And she's staying in the forest with her 5 children, And normally, not having a husband itself is a point of misery. Like raising 5 children alone without a husband, that itself is, a point of misery. Further, what to talk about, like the envy and the threats given by the Kauravas again and again and again. Right? And then after that, there was the entire episode of the disrobing of Draupadi. And then there was actually, again, 14 years 14 years Pandavas were sent to the forest, so she was in separation, and the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So if you, the main point I'm saying is like just going through the life, you see Queen Kunti faced calamities one after another. And these calamities are not like simple things that we may experience like, oh, today I have a headache, or today my health problem. It's not like that. Imagine the intensity of the calamities that Queen Kunti has experienced throughout her. So now, finally, even after the battlefield of Kurukshetra, they won, right? But also that entire thing with Karna, right? When Karna actually first he saw Karna and how Karna was fighting her own children. Imagine how a mother felt that her own children are going to fight and either Karna is going to die or one of my other sons is going to die. Everything, every moment of life, calamity after calamity. And then now, after they won the battlefield, now Ashwatthama has actually killed her grandson. No, great-grandson, right? The 5 Pandava, the son of the Draupadi, right? They were actually killed, right? And then after that, there is this another Brahmastra coming to kill the Pandavas and also to kill Bharat Parikshit. So one after another, calamities. And now she's saying, in all those calamities, Krishna, you were the one who actually protected her. So with that mood, she's actually expressing her emotions, and her emotions are filled with so much. Imagine like a person going throughout so many calamities all through the life, but there's one person who's always been there to give protection. How much heartfelt emotions one would actually express to such a person, right? So in that mood, we'll enter the prayers. Okay, so start with text 18. So because this prayer is so important, so I told Ratna Radhika, she's going to chant the Sanskrit, but she's also going to pause after each sentence. So you all, in your mute state, please repeat the verses, right? Okay, let's start with text 18.
Kunti uvacha namasye purusham tvadyam Ishvaram prakrite param alaksham sarvabhutanam antarbahiravastitam.
Maybe a little bit slower. Okay, so let's read the translation.
Translation. Srimati Kunti said, "O Krishna, I offer my obeisances unto you because you are the original personality and are unaffected by the qualities of the material world. You are existing both within and without everything, yet you are invisible to all." Hare Krishna.
So she's glorifying. Like Krishna is her nephew, right? Why is she saying, offering obeisances to Krishna? So she actually starts off by saying, Namasya. Namaha, I started, right? One aspect of prayer is where we are offering obeisances, right? And the other aspect is glorification. So both we see obeisances and glorification. And she's offering her obeisances unto Krishna, who's a nephew, right? So, but she's actually saying, I'm offering my obeisances because, and like now I'm not seeing you as my nephew, right? Because you are the original supreme personality of Father. You are Purusham, right? Tva Adyam. Adya means original, right? So you are the original supreme personality of Father. Right? So, okay. So Adi Purusha we say, right? The original supreme personality of Father. Then he says, Ishwaram Prakriti Param, right? So Ishwaram, you are the controller, you are the supreme controller. Prakriti Param, you are beyond the three modes of material nature, right? Then he says, Alaksham Sarva Bhutana. Alaksham means you are invisible to all living entities. Sarva Bhutana, Antar Bahir Avastita. You are actually within and without. Right? So many different qualities just in the first word. He is the original supreme personality of Father. He is the Adi Purusha. Second, he is actually the supreme controller. He is Ishvara. Then Prakriti Param, who is actually beyond the three modes of material nature. So he's actually beyond those relationships as a nephew, and so it's not that I'm now as an aunt, I'm telling this place. No, you're beyond all these modes. Right? Then Alaksham Sarvabhutana. You are actually invisible to all living entities. Antar Bahir Avastita. You are within and you are without, yet you are actually invisible to all living entities. Right? So what is that? That first point, the first point of contradiction here is that Krishna is within and without. What does that mean? That he is within as Paramatma and he is actually present everywhere. Is there anything where Krishna is not present? Krishna is present. Actually, Brahma Samhita says, Andantarastu Paramanu Chantarasa. In every atom, Krishna is there. And he is there between the atoms. Is there any place where Krishna is not there? Krishna is everywhere, yet Krishna is standing as a personality in front of Queen Kunti. Krishna is right there everywhere, yet he is there as a person in front of Queen Kunti. So with great respect, she is actually, she begins to praise Krishna. Okay, and let's start off with the first one, where it says Purusham, right? Adi Purusha. Actually, only Krishna is the Purusha. Everyone else is Prakriti. Everyone else is Prakriti. The only male is actually Krishna because he is the only enjoyer, he is the only controller. Everyone else, even if we have male bodies in this lifetime, still we are actually Prakriti, so we are female. So only Purusha is actually Krishna. He is the supreme enjoyer and he is the supreme controller. Okay, now this point also we can, we have to see what is the inconceivable nature of Krishna that Queen Kunti is bringing up. When Mother Yashoda, she actually, we know in the past time where Krishna ate dirt, right? And then everyone was complaining, Mother Yashoda, Krishna ate dirt, right? And then Mother Yashoda came to Krishna and said like, oh, everyone's complaining you ate dirt. No, they are all lying. But even Balram is actually saying you ate dirt. No, even today he is not on my side. So that way Krishna actually was giving reasons, but Mother Yashoda said, okay, you open your mouth, right? So when Krishna opened his mouth, what did Mother Yashoda see? Mother Yashoda saw all the universes inside Krishna's mouth, right? All the universes, everything outside was actually within Krishna's mouth, right? And within that mouth, she also saw herself and Krishna. So how can we understand Krishna? Within his mouth is all the universes, right? And yes, Krishna is actually without. Krishna, when he's breathing, all the universes are coming into existence, yet all the universes are within his mouth. How is it possible? So the whole point is actually that Krishna is inconceivable. He cannot be understood with a tiny intelligence. How in the mouth of Krishna there was everything, yet all the universes are coming outside of Krishna. Yet Krishna is actually within every atom and in between every atom. How can you understand? And in spite of all this, Krishna being everywhere, within, without, in every atom, he is Alaksha. For all the living entities, he is invisible. If something is all pervading, like if it's broad sunlight, it's like very shiny, there's sunshine everywhere. And someone is standing underneath the sun and saying, there is no sun. I cannot see the sun. How is it possible? It's bright sunshine. We are actually right in the sun. Like yesterday, we were outside. It's so hot, everyone is sweating and we are experiencing all the symptoms of broad sunshine. But we are saying, I cannot see the sun. How is it possible? So Krishna is everywhere, yet alaksham sarva bhutana. He is invisible to all living entities. So Prabhupada points out in the purport. Actually, I give you one more reference. Like in 10th canto of Bhagavatam, when Brahma is actually making his prayers, right? He actually says that I was actually born from your womb, right? So from the womb there was a lotus flower. Brahma is born. So in that way, Brahma is actually making the point that I am your own child. I am your own child. And he refers to how within your mouth, I am actually present. So I am actually born from your navel. At the same time, I am within your mouth. And Mother Yashoda saw all the universes. And then he actually makes the point, if I am like a child, he actually says, Krishna, you're my mother because I am within you. And when a baby in a womb kicks a mother does not take offense. So similarly, I have made a mistake, but because just like a baby, in the womb when it kicks, the mother does not take offense. You please do not take offense to what I have done. So that's so beautiful. That comes in 14th chapter. Very nice prayer of Brahma. So, so all these points refer to that Krishna is everywhere, yet he is actually invisible to all the beings. Now, why is he invisible? If something is everything, then why invisible? That is the next verse. Text number 19.
Maya Javanikachanam Agyadokshajam Avyayam Nalakshase Mudadrisha Nato Natadharo Yata.
So is this okay? Like, is everyone able to follow along? Yeah, okay, that's good. Okay, so why, if Krishna is everywhere, why is he alaksham? Why is he invisible? Maya Javani Kachanna. Right? Javani Kachanna means, Javanika means a curtain. Because even though we are in the broad sunshine, where sun is everywhere, we are covered by a curtain. And what is that curtain? That curtain is that of Maya, right? The deluding energy. Maya Javani Kachanna. We are covered by the curtain of Maya. Agya, and because of that, we are actually ignorant. So even though Krishna is everywhere, we are covered by a curtain, and hence we are actually agya, we are ignorant. Adokshajam. Adokshajam means Krishna is beyond our material conceptions. Right? So Adokshajam actually means, Chakravarti is actually explaining, Adaha Akshadam Jnanam. Right? Akshajam means senses. Jnanam means knowledge which we can obtain from our senses. Adaha means Krishna is beyond the knowledge that can be acquired by our senses. So even though we may be standing and in the sunshine, but if you consider Krishna's position, he is transcendental to all our vision. And hence, even though we may have eyes, we cannot see Krishna. Right? And what is the example of this? Well, Duryodhana was seeing Krishna, but still he was not seeing Krishna. Shishupal was seeing, yes, here is Krishna, but still he was not seeing Krishna as the original Supreme Personality of God. Further, it says, Adokshajam, right? Adokshajam, Avyayam. So this word is irreproachable. He is not approachable by our material senses. So why is Krishna invisible? First, we are covered by Maya's curtain of Maya. Second, he is beyond the range of a material conception. Third, he is actually irreproachable. You cannot just directly approach Krishna. Okay. Then, na lakshe muda disha. Right? Na lakshe muda disha. Muda, this is Prabhupada's favorite word. Everyone says muda. Muda means a rascal, right? Here it says foolish. Right? So na lakshase muda disha. So hence he is not observed by the muda, the foolish observer. And how is that? What is the example given? Nata natya dharo yata. Just like an artist dressed as a player cannot be seen. Right? So just like if a drama is going on, we have these wonderful dramas by Gopinath Prabhu and Pratna Mataji. And in the last drama, there was this one character that I was thinking, Taraka, right? In the Ramayana drama. This is Taraka. And unless you already talked to Prabhu and Mataji, there was no way you could get who that character was. He's on stage, She's acting and you have no idea. You know it is one among us, but no idea who is that personality. Only later on, when the personality himself revealed that, oh, that was me playing, or if Prabhu actually said that, oh, actually this is so and so. You can actually know. So unless Krishna actually reveals himself to us, there is no way that we can actually know Krishna. So Krishna reserves the right. Like let's say, Gopinath Acharya Prabhu does not like me. I hope he likes me, but in case he doesn't like me. And then like, I want to know who is that personality. The Prabhu says, no, I won't tell him. He reserves the right not to tell me, right? So similarly, Krishna reserves the right not to reveal himself to us. So though when Krishna was present 5,000 years ago, Duryodhana was seeing Krishna, Dushasana was seeing Krishna, Shishupal was seeing Krishna, all Jarasan was seeing, everyone was seeing Krishna, but still they were not seeing Krishna because Krishna was not revealing himself to them. Right? So that's the point about this verse, right? So Krishna is within and without, he's everywhere. Why is he invisible? Because they're covered by Kantana Maya, he's ignorant to the Adoksaja, he's irreproachable, and he's invisible because he's just like an actor on a stage, right? So unless the actor reveals himself, we won't know who is that person. And Krishna is actually such an expert actor. Like we see his pastimes, Krishna's pastimes, like, especially the pastimes I mentioned is Satyabhama. Satyabhama actually wanted the Parijata tree. Krishna is just acting like a hen-pecked husband. Says, okay, if you want it, I'll go and bring it for you. Krishna acts in such a way, such an expert actor that we cannot recognize Krishna. So that is for Agya. But even for his pure devotees, Krishna is actually covers his pure devotees by another kind of curtain. What is that curtain? Curtain of Yoga Maya. So either we are covered by the curtain of Mahamaya or we are covered by the curtain of Yoga Maya. But we are all covered. Right? So better to be covered by the curtain of Yoga Maya, where Krishna wants us to be in that state so he can actually have that wonderful, sweet relationship with Krishna and rasa with Krishna. Okay. Prabhupada in the purport points out that how Krishna, his activities are so wonderful. Everyone knows Krishna lifted Govardhan. 7 days, 7 nights. You can actually go to that place, Govardhan, and see. Right? Second, Krishna's wonderful instruction. Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. So nice. Who can actually compile such wonderful instructions like Krishna? Third, his marvelous capacities as a hero, as a teacher, as a householder, as a renouncer. Amazing activities, right? Hero, teacher, householder, renouncer. And fourth, he's accepted by all the sages. Still, people cannot see Krishna in spite of this. The Prabhupada makes a point in the purport. Okay, so I think that's that. Let me just quickly see one thing. There's one more verse. Okay. So anyway, like one reference I had written was from first canto, first chapter, text number 20, where it says, Kritavan kila karmani saha ramena keshava ati martyani bhagavan guda kapata manusa. Kapata manusa. So it's actually playing activity just like a human being, right? And so masked, he's actually showing his superhuman activity, right? So he's masked, right? It's the same point is actually there. So that's a good reference there, one thing. Okay. So that's good. Should we move on to text number 20? Okay. So we got the first two verses, the glories of Krishna, how is within, without, how is the original personality of Godhead, he's the supreme controller, yet he's invisible. Why is he invisible? Because we are covered by the curtain of Maya, and he's actually Adoksaja, he's actually Avyaya, he's just like an actor on a stage, right? Hence we can understand. Okay. Now text number 20. Okay.
I don't know if we read the translation for 19.
Okay, translation.
Being beyond the range of limited sense perception, you are the eternally irreproachable factor covered by the curtains of deluding energy. You are invisible to the fullest observer, exactly as an actor dressed as a player is not recognized.
Okay, that's good. So text number 20. Okay.
Tatha paramahamsanam Muninam Amalatmanam Bhakti Yoga Vidhanartham Katham Pashyemahi Striyaha.
So remember, this section is the first section of how to know Krishna, right? Let me see. I hope everyone has Subodhini in front of you. You see the chart in Subodhini. Knowing the Lord, right? So this is the third verse and how we can actually know the Lord. Tatha Paramahamsana. Paramahams, we actually have discussed this word many times before, right? Paramahams is those who are actually like swans. They can actually discriminate between matter and spirit. Tatha Paramahamsa, Muninam referring to those who are mental speculators. Amal Atmanam, Amala Atmanam referring to those who minds are competent to discern between spirit and matter. Right? So here, Kunti Maharani is actually making the point that Krishna, you actually descend to Bhakti Yoga Vidhanartham. Bhakti Yoga Vidhanartham to actually show the science of Bhakti Yoga to whom? To the Paramahamsas, to the Muninam, to the Amala Atmanam. You actually come to show Bhakti Yoga to all these personalities, right? Because even we read previously about Sukadeva Goswami. He was actually at the stage of Brahman realized, but still he was actually attracted to the principles of Bhakti Yoga, right? So Krishna, like Kunti Maharani says, you come and when you show such activity, you mainly come to teach Bhakti Yoga, and you come to teach people like Paramahamsa, like Sukadeva Goswami, to such elevated personalities, you're showing the principles of Paramahamsa. To Muninam, who are like expert in philosophical, you're showing them Bhakti Yoga is the highest. To Amal Atmanam, those who can actually discern between spirit and matter. To all these personalities, you are coming to show the principles of Bhakti Yoga. Katham Pashyemahi Striya. How can we women actually understand you? You are coming to show to all these high-class people, but we are simple, innocent women. How can we understand you? So certainly Queen Kunti is such an elevated devotee of the Lord. She knows the principles of bhakti. She has that bhakti for Krishna. But this is the quality of a devotee, that a devotee actually, out of humility, it identifies anything that may seem like a shortcoming, and because of that, it actually expresses humility. Anything, even a small thing. So Queen Kunti is saying, oh, I have a body of a woman. How can we understand? Right? And the nature of opposite, the proud person is what? They'll identify one thing and they'll keep glorifying themselves. I am so expert at this. But the nature of a devotee is that even one small thing, they'll say, oh, I am so fallen because of one small thing. So Queen Kunti is praying in the utter mood of humility. She's saying, I'm a woman. Women are so simple at heart. How can we actually understand? How can we understand? You actually descend to show mercy upon all these people. You teach them bhakti. But how are we qualified to know? Okay. Prabhupada in the purport actually points out. Let's just quickly look at the purport. So again, this entire aspect of women, are women less intelligent and things like that. Like, one simple thing in an interview, like a reporter was asking Prabhupada, like, oh, do you think women are less intelligent? And Prabhupada very simply replied, if you think you're a woman, then you're less intelligent. If you think you're a woman, then you're less intelligent. Basically, that means if you're identifying yourself with this body, then you're less intelligent. If you think you're this body, you're less intelligent. If I'm thinking I'm a man, if I'm thinking I'm Indian, I'm not very intelligent because I am not this body, right? So that is the main point. And Prabhupada in the purport, he actually points out, let's see what he points in the purport. Yeah, he talks about like simplicity of acceptance and the other thing, sincerity of purpose. Actually, Prabhupada is making the point in the purport. He actually says, Prabhupada says, women are blessed by the Lord because they believe at once in the superiority and almightiness of the Lord. and thus they offer obeisances without reservation. So Prabhupada is glorifying this quality of women. He's actually saying women are blessed by Krishna. Why? Because they because they believe at once in the superiority and almighty of the Lord, and they can offer obeisances without reservation. So actually, in general, if you see any religious group, somehow we see that women are more attracted to. They're very simple at heart. They can easily surrender to Krishna, and men have all these. The way of thinking, they create all these doubts, and hence men cannot it is just general principle. We cannot just, make it as a pinpoint, but in general, we see women actually have this simple mood of acceptance, and hence they can say, "Oh, Krishna," that mood of surrender to Krishna is more natural for a woman rather than for a man. So Prabhupada is pointing out. Right? So thus they offer obeisance without any. Lord is so kind that he does not show special favor only to one who is actually a munina. He knows the sincerity of purpose. And the last sentence, this simplicity of acceptance of the Lord authority is more effective than showy, insincere religious fervor. Right? Simplicity. Yes, Krishna, you are the Supreme Personality of God. CVC Queen Kunti. How so simply she's actually revealing her heart, bringing out that transcendental emotion. Oh, Krishna, you are the Supreme Personality of God. Right? So that mood can only, Prabhupada says that is actually a blessing of Krishna to the woman. Right? So in general, this verse is actually saying that Queen Kunti is out of her mood of humility, pointing out that how can I actually know you? Because you actually come to reveal, to teach Bhakti Yoga to all the Paramahamsas, Munina and Atma. Okay, actually in this, if you see in the lecture to this verse, again going back to this teachings of Queen Kunti, Prabhupada actually in that lecture, he says, actually Queen Kunti is the most intelligent person. Because only a most intelligent person can glorify Krishna in such a way. Right? So please read you can hear the lectures or you can read this book also. Okay. So this is the first section, right? And one more reference here, one of the verses that we covered. I was actually looking for verses that we have already covered. So how can we know Krishna? We actually read this in 1:338. Sa Veda Dhatu Padavim Parasya Duranta Virasya Rathanga Pane Yo Mayaya Santayanu Vritya Bhajete Tat Pad Bhajate Tat Pada Saroja Gandham. Right? Only those who render unreserved, uninterrupted, favorable service unto the lotus feet of Krishna, who carries the wheel of charity in his hand, can know the creator of the universe in his full glory, power, and transcendence. So who can know Krishna? One who actually engages in unreserved, uninterrupted, favorable service to Krishna. So these 3 points. I hope you remember we discussed this verse 1:338 earlier. Okay, so that is our first section. Okay, now we'll go to our second section, which is okay, I am fortunate. That's what we said. Right? So she's going to compare her fortune with the fortune of Devaki. And you can consider, they are kind of both are in the same mood with Krishna, right? That motherly mood. She's also an aunt, right? She's a father's sister, right? Aunt. And also Devaki is also in that parenthood. So she's comparing her fortune and her love with Devaki's love. Right? So this is another point showing the mood of a devotee. So what is the first point showing the mood of a devotee? That the mood of a devotee, he takes one small thing. And because of that, he actually says, oh, I am so fallen. Right? We sing in that bhajan, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo More. Tuma Bina Kedaya Jagat Samsara. Patita Pavana Hetu Tava Tara. Mosama Patita Prabhu Nahi Tribhuvan. Narottam Das Thakur is saying, you will not find anyone more fallen than me. How can the acharyas pray in that way? Because they just consider one small thing and say oh, I am so fallen, Krishna, there is no one more fallen than me. And because you shower mercy to the most fallen, I am hence the right candidate to show your mercy upon. Right? That is the mood of a devotee, and Queen Kunti is showing that point. Okay, text 21.
We didn't do translation.
Oh, sorry, okay, go ahead.
Yes, you yourself descend to propagate the transcendental science of devotional service onto the hearts of the advanced transcendentalists and mental speculators who are purified by being able to discriminate between matter and spirit. How then can we women know you perfectly?
So it is out of humility that Queen Kunti is actually saying, but we know that going to 1-3-30, Queen Kunti is pure devotee of Krishna. So she actually really knows Krishna. Right? Okay, text 21.
Krishnaya Sudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Okay, so now, continuing from the previous verse, Queen Kunti is saying, how can I understand you? I'm just a simple-hearted woman. How can we understand you? All these Paramahamsas, mental speculators, all those people are there. How can I understand? And she's saying, I cannot understand. Hence, what I'm doing, therefore, Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandaya. So this is our mood. With our tiny intelligence, we cannot understand Krishna, but we just accept, yes, I cannot understand Krishna. The only thing I can do is offer obeisances to you. I offer obeisances to the inconceivable aspect of your glory, right? So that is this verse. So she's saying, therefore, Krishnaya Vasudevaya. Let me therefore offer obeisances, right? Therefore, because I cannot know you, you're inconceivable. You're beyond the range of thinking of the greatest philosopher. Hence, I am just offering. So this is the mood of a devotee, right? This simple mood, just like, okay, without any reservation, offering obeisances. Now, in this, why does she actually start off with Krishnaya? Krishnaya referring to Krishna. She's actually personally saying that this personality, I'm not offering obeisances to any other incarnation like Lord Ramchandra or anyone else. Krishnaya, I'm particularly offering obeisances to you, Lord Shri Krishna, who's standing in front of me, right? Krishnaya, Vasudevaya, you are actually the son of Vasudeva. Devaki Nandaya, you are the son of Devaki. So you yourself, the son of Vasudeva, the son of Devaki, Nanda Gopa, right? So you are actually the son of the Nanda Gopa, right? So one may say, where's Yashoda? Vasudeva is there, Devaki is there, Nanda is there. Where's Yashoda? Yashoda is so special that in a separate verse, she just dedicates to the glory of Mother Yashoda. That will be text 31. Okay. So Nanda Nanda Nayacha, so referring to Gopa. Nanda Gopa Kumaraya, right? So we read Nanda Gopa Kumaraya, son of Nanda, Nanda. Devaki Nanda Nayacha, son of Devaki, and then Nanda Gopa Kumaraya, the Kumara or the son of Nanda and the other Gopas, right? Govindaya Namo Namaha. Govindaya means one who enlivens the cows and senses. Namaha means offering obeisances. So again and again, she is actually offering obeisances. This is a mood. Namo Namaha, Namo Namaha. This is one word that comes again and again. Like even when we see in the section of the wives of Kaliya offering prayers to Krishna, when Kaliya was almost, completely defeated and almost at a stage of being killed, almost dying. Then all the wives come and they offer prayers to Krishna. And if you see the section, almost every verse you see Namo Namaha, Namo Namaha, Namo Namaha, right? Offering obeisances. Namaha, that word is offering. So she's offering obeisances. Now, one beautiful point here is actually that if you see starting from Vasudeva, then Devaki, then Nanda, and she's not mentioning Yashoda because she'll mention later, but then Yashoda, and then Govinda, right? So if you see the way she is actually offering obeisances, it actually increases in the rasa from one person to another. The prema that Devaki has is actually even more than the prema that Vasudeva has. The prema that Nanda has is even more than that Devaki has. The prema that Yashoda has even more than Nanda has. And finally, Govinda, referring to the gopis' love for Krishna. And that is actually the highest. So it's actually the way she's composed is going to increasing prema from Vasudeva all the way to the gopis of Vrindavan. Right? Okay. Okay, and Prabhupada in the purport he actually points out how the Kaishvara pastimes are actually sweeter
than the Kaumara pastimes. The pastimes in youth is actually more sweeter. And so this is actually why is Prabhupada making the point? He's pointing out that the love of the gopis, how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually says, Ramya Kachit Uparsana Varshvadu Varyana Kalpita. The love of the gopis, that form of worship is the highest form of worship. Right? So Prabhupada, in reference to that, is actually saying that. Okay, and then, okay, just the last sentence I want to point out here in the purport. Okay, someone can read the translation.
Let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances to the Lord, who has become the son of Vasudev, the pleasure of Devaki, the boy of Nanda, and the other cowherd men of Vrindavana, and the enlivener of the cows and the senses.
So last sentence when it says Govindaya, Prabhupada refers, how we actually pray, Namo Brahmanya Devaya, Go Brahmana Hitaya, right? So Prabhupada actually elaborates on the Govinda verse. It actually means Lord Krishna is known as Govinda because he's inclined to the cows and the Brahmana. And he actually makes this point. And throughout the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, again and again we see the smooth of Prabhupada establishing Brahmanical culture and cow protection. He actually says there is no human civilization without these two aspects, establishing the Brahmanical culture and cow protection. Okay? So these two we see again and again in the first canto. Prabhupada repeatedly says, you want to make a change in this world, establish Brahmanical people who actually know spiritual knowledge and who can actually give spiritual knowledge to everyone and actually protect the cows. Okay, text 22.
Nama Pankajanabhaya, Nama Pankajamaline, Nama Pankajanetraya, Namaste Pankajangraye.
So now she's actually seeing Krishna and she said that, oh, this Krishna, I'm not praying to anyone else. I'm praying to you, Krishna, who are son of Vasudeva, Devaki, Ananda, Yashoda, and who are the beloved of the gopis. I'm praying to you. And then she's actually saying, I'm seeing you, Krishna, and I'm glorifying your beautiful form. Right? And so she starts off with Nama Pankaja Nabhaya. That the navel of Krishna, that depression, it actually resembles a lotus flower. And also Prabhupada points out that Krishna is known as Pankajanabha. Why? Because from the navel of Garbhodakshay Vishnu, there's a lotus flower on which Brahma is born. So Namaha Pankaj, she is actually seeing Krishna and saying, oh, your navel is just like a lotus flower. Right? It resembles a lotus flower. Then Namaha Pankaja Maline. So if you see the form, she's starting with a vase. Then Maline, so the garland, right? One who's decorated with a garland of lotus flowers. Right? Just going a little higher. Then Netraya, whose eyes are actually like lotus. And Prabhupada elaborates and says, is as cooling as a lotus flower. As cooling as a lotus flower. Right? Then Namaste Pankajangra. And then she goes to the feet. Right? So normally if you see the way of approaching or seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then because we are approaching Krishna always with a mood of humility, the way we do it, when we take darshan of Shri Radha Goloka also, we always should start from the lotus feet. This is a mood of humility that how can we see Krishna face to face? We are so, conditioned, insignificant jiva. We start from the lotus feet, offering obeisances to the lotus feet, and then we gradually take darshan going upwards. That's the way. But Queen Kunti, she's starting from the waist, she's going up and then coming down. Why is that? Right? The Acharyas are explaining that basically, Krishna is also a niece at this time. So if she looks directly at the lotus feet of Krishna, then Krishna may feel like uncomfortable. That she's my aunt. Why is she looking at my lotus feet? So that's why Queen Kunti starts with the waist and then she goes around. The normal way of darshan is starting from the feet and going up. Okay. Okay. So lotus is the most beautiful object that we see in this material world. And certainly, Lord is beyond that lotus, but because that's the most beautiful object that we see, Lord is compared to the most beautiful object. And also, like Prabhupada says, when we say Pankajangre, right, the last word, Namaste Pankajangre, if you see in the symbols of Lord Krishna's lotus feet, there's actually a lotus flower on his right feet, right? Right feet just below the middle two toes. There is a lotus flower, right? So that is a Pankajangre. His feet is marked with the lotus flower. There is a symbol of lotus flower on Krishna's feet. Okay. Translation.
My respectful obeisances are unto you, O Lord, whose abdomen is marked with a depression like a lotus flower, for always decorated with garlands of lotus flowers, whose glance is as cool as the lotus, and whose feet are engraved with lotuses.
Prabhupada in the purport also points out the importance of Archa Vigraha, like the deity form of the Lord. You know? In this and also like around like these, I think previous verses, Prabhupada is stressing this importance of deity worship. Like we see the Lord, we approach the form of the Lord in the temple, and how we actually start from the lotus weight and gradually thighs, waist, chest, face, we go upward. That's how we take darshan of the Lord. And Prabhupada also points out that the temple atmosphere should be in such a soothing way that it will actually attract the burning attention of the non-devotees always engaged in material branding. So Prabhupada is being very practical. A temple should be in such a way that the atmosphere is so soothing that even a non-devotee walks in, he immediately feels like, oh, this is so nice atmosphere. Everyone is here just glorifying Krishna. So much love between the devotees. There is no envy in this society. People should be able to see that mood, you know, and Prabhupada is making it. Then we have to create, we should try, you know, okay, how can we actually make the temple atmosphere in such a way that anyone who walks in will be actually attracted to the temple atmosphere and attracted to Krishna. Okay, 23.
Yata Rishikesha Khalena Devaki Kamsena Rudhati Chiram Shucharpita Vimochitaham cha sahatmaja vibho Tvayeva nathena muhur vipadganat.
You can read the translation first.
O Rishikesh, master of the senses and lord of lords, you have released your mother Devi, who was long imprisoned and distressed by the envious King Kamsa, and me and my children from a series of constant dangers.
So now she's actually comparing her position with that of Devaki and said, like, you have also protected Devaki. You know, she was in the prison and then you actually protected Devaki, right? And then she's actually pointing out, and me and my children also you gave protection, right? And the theme of these verses, he actually said, O Rishikesha, O master of the senses, right? And the Lord of Lords, right? So that's using that word. The theme of these verses is actually she's saying that you have actually given more favor to me than Devaki. Why is that? Because you did not protect the children of Devaki. Even Devaki's 6 children were actually killed, but you protected my children. And if you consider Devaki in Kunti's position, Devaki, she always had the shelter of Vasudeva. But Kunti did not have a shelter of her husband. And Devaki in her life, if you see, there was that one episode that was where she was imprisoned by Kamsa until the birth of Krishna. So that was one episode. But Queen Kunti, throughout her life, again and again and again and again, there were actually episodes. Right? So Queen Kunti's mood here is actually, she's saying that you actually showed more mercy to me than Devaki. Even though Devaki is actually so fortunate that she's actually your mother. So this is another point of the mood of a devotee. Krishna, I am such a rascal. Still you're showing your mercy upon me? This is amazing. So this is a mood in which you like to pray to Krishna. Right? So Queen Kunti is saying that, yes, you showed more mercy to me than Devaki. And Prabhupada in the purport actually points out that Krishna shows more favor to a devotee who is in greater danger. Right? So the more danger, because Kunti was so much in danger, Krishna gave more favor, more protection to that. Provided the point is, provided we completely dependent on Krishna. Right? We express that complete dependence on Krishna. So more we express our helplessness, the more, like Prabhupada in the purport, he actually says, sometimes he puts his pure devotee in such dangers Because in that condition of helplessness, the devotee becomes more attached to the Lord. The more the attachment is there for the Lord, the more the success is there for the devotee. So they have to become more and more attached to the Lord. That is the whole point, right? And for that attachment, sometimes Krishna creates a situation of helplessness. Krishna will put us in such a situation where we say, actually at this point, no one else can save me except Krishna, you can save me. So those situations of helplessness are actually, if they become impetuous for declaring our complete surrender to Krishna, then those situations of helplessness are actually a benediction. Right? Okay. So, yeah. Okay, so this is again like the point about that we discussed with Arjun and Uttara also. Complete this dependence, how Krishna is actually the ultimate shelter and the ultimate protector. Okay, so let's go on. Yeah, we read the translation. Okay, text number 24. So she lists what all difficulties she has gone through.
Nishan Mahagne Purushada Darshanan Asat Sabhaya Vanavasa Krichrataha Mride Mride Neka Maharatastruto Dronyastratashchasmahare Birakshitaha.
Okay, who's next?
Your Lordship has protected us from a poisoned cake, from a great fire, from cannibals, from the Vaishyas assembly, from sufferings during our exile in the forest, and from the battle where great generals fought. And now you have saved us from the weapon of Ashwadhama.
So she's basically in this like listing all the dangerous encounters they actually said, starting from the poison cake, how the Duryodhana tried to poison Bhima. Then there was a great fire, the fire on the house of lac. Then from cannibals, from vicious assembly, that is the assembly where Draupadi was disrobed in that assembly. Right? From suffering during exile in the forest, and then this entire battle of Kurukshetra, and then finally this weapon from Ashwatthama. So all these times is that you have protected us. And one may say like, well, actually it was so many of these incidences. Like it was, let's say, a house of lac. It was Vidura who actually gave the hint to Yudhishthir, saying that actually this house is a trick. He used some very different language that no one else could understand, but Yudhishthir got the point. That he actually said that, oh, this is a trick to actually burn us. Right? So one may say she could have said, oh, Vidura protected us at that time. Then other times when there was this demon by name Hidimba, right, the brother of Hidambi. Right? So he came and attacked. That time Bhima is so powerful that he actually killed. So she's not saying that, and many of these incidences she mentioned, Krishna was not personally there during those incidences, right? Krishna was not personally there during many of these incidences, but still she's actually saying, Krishna, it is actually you who protected us. So Krishna's protection to us may come in different forms, right? Through his devotees or through different arrangements, Krishna's protection may come to us, but we actually, we give credit to devotees for sure, but ultimately we give Krishna, this is your protection. You arrange this devotee to come at the right time so that I am protected. So Queen Kunti is showing that. It's actually Krishna, you alone, who actually protected us during all these times. Yeah. Okay, so she's showing her surrender without any reservation. Right? Okay, I think that's the main point. In the starting also, I went through a little bit of the austerity. And also like, when you talk about the vicious assembly, we see Draupadi's scene also, right? When she was disrobed, we hear in the Mahabharata how this described. First, she's trying to use her own strength to, hold on to the soil. But what is her strength in front of Dushasana? Then she said, oh, Krishna, with like, not fully. And finally, she raised both her hands and called her oh Krishna, please, oh Govinda, please say it, right? And it just said like Krishna was waiting for that complete surrender by Draupadi. And as soon as he gave that complete surrender, Krishna actually left Dwarka, and within a moment he came to actually protect Draupadi. This is all Krishna's protection. So again and again, the same theme is actually repeating. Okay. Yeah, that's the point that, though she had all these powerful sons, she could have said like, oh, well, all these sons are protected. She's saying, Krishna, it is always you. You are the one who is finally giving us protection. Okay. Next, 25 is a famous verse. Okay. So we discuss this verse. Okay. 25.
Vipata santuta shashvat tatra jagadguru bhavato darshanam yatsyad apunar bhavadarshanam.
So this is one of the famous prayers of Queen Kunti. And when we hear this prayer, it's like, can I actually pray in this way? Doubts come to our mind. So let's read the translation.
I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again, so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated births and deaths.
Vipada Shantu, now we have already talked about like what are the calamities that Queen Kunti is facing. It's not that sprain in the leg, stomach pain, headache. It's not any kind of her calamity. Each one of the calamities in such a way that we think of that and we will shiver at the thought. And what is it she's saying? Let the calamities come again and again. Who can pray in this way? This shows the glory of Queen Kunti, that she's actually saying, well, when the calamities are there, then Krishna, you personally give us protection. Now, when it seems that everything is okay, you're leaving us. So better those calamities come again and again, because that way you will actually always die with us. So here Queen Kunti is actually making a point. Do we want Krishna or do we want material comforts? And if we really want to go back home, back to Godhead, if that intensity is so strong, are we willing to actually experience different kinds of troubles and anxieties? Because those kinds of calamities make us take shelter of Krishna more. I'm sure we all have the experience, right? If everything is going well in our life, then our intensity of prayer is not so good. We may be chanting around. But as soon as there is one small problem, right? During a japa, what we are? Hare Krishna, Krishna, please help me, Krishna. Please protect me from this. Our intensity of prayer goes so deep when there are problems. So only a pure devotee can pray in this way, that let the problems come again and again. Because when there are problems, then I'm really opening my heart and praying to you with a full intensity. We may not be at that stage where we can pray for problems, because when problems come to us, many times it takes us away from Krishna rather than to Krishna, right? But at least we can pray to Krishna that Krishna, this material world is full of problems, and problems are going to come. But when problems come, at least you help me be conscious of you during that time. At least you help me that I can take shelter of you during that time. At least help me with that. So at least we can pray in that way. Right? And then we can appreciate Queen Kunti's devotion, that she's actually saying, well, see, it is, this is the thing. There's a deal in front of you. Okay. One side, you can have repeated problems for this lifetime, but after that, over. All problems over. Complete happiness. Okay. Or the other side, we have material comforts and a life of everything going well. If you actually see, one lifetime is just like a short period of time. And if you actually think during that time, even if problems come, they are actually intensifying your prayer. So many problems. And then, for most of us, this is actually, it's just too high level. We cannot pray in that way. But at least we can appreciate the mood of Queen Kunti, how she is actually praying. Right? So at least for us, we can pray, oh Lord, whenever there are any problems, please help me always remember you. Please keep me, let me take shelter of you. Let me always come to you whenever there are problems. So we can pray in that way. That mood, I think we all can connect with, at least at that time. So there's one beautiful sentence in Chakravarti Pad's explanation to this verse. And I want to read this sentence. Maybe you should write it down. It is so wonderful, but I have to read this. It actually says, let me find it. Okay, anyway, by the time I get the reference. So Prabhupada in this explanation, he also gives the example of Titanic. And he said like how Titanic ship, when it was created, the person who created Titanic, he said, the ship is so wonderful that even God cannot destroy it. And all it took was like one iceberg to destroy the entire Titanic. And so many goals. So Prabhupada talks about that in class in the society. But the main thing here, the point that Chakravarti Pad is saying, okay, to give benefit to us, this is like exactly, okay? You destroy unsteadiness, okay? You destroy unsteadiness caused by intoxication with material comfort. You destroy unsteadiness caused by intoxication with material comfort by giving the ointment of dangers arising out of your mercy. You can just frame the sentence and put it on your wall, right? Did everyone get that sentence? I'll just repeat once more. To give benefit to all of us, right? You destroy unsteadiness caused by intoxication with material comfort. So when we have material comfort, it is kind of, like an intoxicated state, and it actually makes our sadhana destroy unsteadiness. So the unsteadiness is caused by this material comfort, and Krishna actually destroys this unsteadiness in our sadhana, right, by giving the ointment of dangers arising out of your mercy. Such a beautiful sentence, right? So, in our state of bhakti, one of the stages we come up to is a nishta, right? So, ato shraddha, sadhu sangha, bhajan kriya, anartha nivritti, nishta, ruchi, asakti, bhav prem. Nishta is the platform of steadiness. And we need to at least come to a state of nishta where sadhana is completely steady. The unsteadiness in sadhana is because of intoxication and material comfort. And we say like, everything is okay, I have good money, everything is going well. Do I really need to chant today? Maybe today I'll skip. Or we are chanting and we are thinking of something. So that unsteadiness is destroyed by the ointment of problems that Krishna gives in our life. Okay, so one should not run away from Krishna consciousness reading this point that, oh, I am chanting Hare Krishna, now Krishna is going to give me more problems. I don't want more problems, so maybe I shouldn't take up Krishna consciousness. And particularly like Rana Swami Maharaj says, like when people hear the verse from the 10th canto, Yasyaham Anugrinam, like Krishna, when he shows special mercy, he takes away things. Then people say, okay, Krishna consciousness is not for me. This is too much. But the main point is, Krishna will give us tests based on what is our faith in him, and he'll give us like something a little bit more, which will kind of take us to one step more closer to him. So every test or difficulty that we're giving is Krishna is orchestrating. He says like, okay, this student is at the first grade. I will not give him an exam for PhD. I will give him an exam for first grade so that he can study seriously and come to the second grade. That is Krishna's. Okay, so I think we'll have to stop here, 9:40. I would like to go on further, but I'm thinking whether I should do a recording or should we continue this class. Okay, anyway, we have to stop here, it's 9:40. So we have completed up to the first two sections. Okay, so this is a good point to stop, right? So we covered first section, knowing the Lord. Second section of how I am fortunate. She's compared her fortune with Devaki and actually listed all the calamities that has come to her. And she's saying, actually, when calamities were there, then you were there. So let calamities come again and again, because if we see you again and again, then apunar bhava darshana. Then we won't see repeated birth and death. So do you want to see repeated birth of that, or you want to see Krishna? Right. So that's the point. Okay. So let's talk here. Let's see. I want to quickly go through any points that stood out to you from these prayers. Right. So maybe everyone can quickly share. And I know it's 9:40, so if I have to drop out, that is fine. So let me just offer my gratitude to all of you. Panchakalpatarugasya Kripasindhuvasya Vaishnaveyo Namo Namaha. Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay, so if you have to drop out because of other responsibilities, feel free to do so. But if you want to stick around and just make a point of contribution before your questions, then you can just say one point that stood out to you before you drop out. Okay. Thank you so much. So
what was the last word of the sentence? By giving the ointment of the danger arising out of what?
Ointment of danger arising out of your mercy.
Oh, out of your mercy. I just typed the sentence on the chat.
Okay, yeah. Okay, it's in the chat, so if you like, you can just copy that. To give benefit to us, we destroy the unsaved caused by intoxication with material comfort by giving the ointment of danger arising out of your mercy. Okay, so anyone's realizations quickly? Any point that stood out to you from this first two sections of Queen Kunti's prayers? Come on, quickly. Anyone?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I like the point how the mood of a devotee has to be in humility, bringing about some of your shortcoming to the Lord when you are making prayers to God.
When one shortcoming, you focus on that, Krishna, I am so fallen. Your mercy is therefore essential. Thank you very much. What's next?
Prabhuji, I like this. This simplicity of acceptance of the Lord's authority is more effective than showy, insincere religious fervor.
That's a simplicity, and that's the quality of a devotee. Right? Simple at heart, and that way he can accept the Lord, offer obeisances without reservation. Anyone else?
So, since in the first section when we were reading Avasharaksha Krishna, like the absolute dependence on Krishna, and the link is there in when Kunti Devi says in 21 verse that I don't understand you, so let me just offer my obeisances. So linear.
That is our mood. Like we cannot use our tiny brain to understand Krishna. You have to just completely depend on Krishna. Krishna, when you reveal yourself to me, then I can understand. That's okay.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
I like the last portion we discussed now. Like when we have more, Krishna shows more mercy when we have troubles, and that brings us closer to the Lord, and also quick deliverance, like we discussed in the last chapter also.
Very nice. So, whenever we have problems, we can think about that. Krishna, so many problems. But the main aspect is every time we have problems, we should try to turn to Krishna. We try to intensify our sadhana. That is the key point. Chant to Krishna with greater intensity, pray to Krishna, offer heart. So whenever problems, there are actually opportunities for us to deepen our attachment to Krishna. Thank you very much.
Those situations of helplessness are benedictory to such devotees, so they become more attached to Krishna.
Yeah. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Maybe Mati said maybe not a recording, and we continue next class. Okay. Next, Ratana.
Yes, I at the point where the second section, I'm fortunate to receive your reciprocation. It sounded for me, it was it sounded a little proud, like to say I am fortunate, but now I understand because you explained that it's like you're saying I'm such a rascal, but you're still showing so much mercy to me. That's how you're so glorious. So it's like it's like a way of showing gratitude to Krishna it's not a prideful statement to say I'm so fortunate. It's a state of humility.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Anyone else? Okay. So, anyone else would like to do a sharing before we go to the questions? Okay. Sean,
I have a question.
Yeah.
So this goes back to, I think, right at the beginning, before Kunti's prayers, you mentioned how Krishna is Adi Purusha, which means all of us are Prakriti. So if that's the case, and if all of the Vrindavan pastimes that were done here were a reflection of the spiritual world, how do we understand the pastimes of the cowherd boys? Does that mean that cowherd boys pastime is unique to earth, or then there is no version of that, or are they still there but they're still feminine? How do we understand
that? So when we talk about like the Gopas of Vrindavan, the cowherd boys, then we have to understand that based on the Brahma Samhita verse where it says Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitavi Tavirya Eva Nija Rupa Tayagaravi. So who is Krishna actually enjoying with is actually his own Nija Rupa Taravi. So it is not like all these cowherd boys are actually not as a Prakriti. They are his own internal energy, expansions of his own internal energy. And in that mood, they can actually have the relationship. So that is the aspect of Krishna and then Prakriti, all his energies, right? But there is also an aspect of Krishna and his own associates, which are actually Nija Rupa, like his own, expansions, his own intimate. And all the cowherd boys are actually in that category where they are actually having that rasa with Krishna in that own intimate way. So one way, yes, in this entire material world, it's all Prakriti, it's all material nature, and we are also like, we are actually, we are marginal potency, right? So we as such are like in between that mood of Krishna being the Purusha and we actually being the Prakriti. We are actually one way marginal. So if we actually engage in the service to Krishna, then we are going beyond that influence of Prakriti into the internal energy of Krishna, right? Internal energy of Krishna. Then that actually, the point of being a male and female is not so, it doesn't matter actually. Because at that point, it is still Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. Everyone there, the point of Purusha is Krishna is supreme controller, supreme enjoyer. That is still there even in the spiritual world. Though someone may have a cowherd boy form or things like that. I don't know if that helps, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Vijayamati?
Prabhuji, I have two questions. In the verse of text 19, when you were explaining that how Krishna's activities are so marvelous, he is a perfect son, he is a perfect friend, he is a perfect hunchback husband, you gave a reference of the word, Prabhuji, I missed that. Kapata, you were saying something?
Oh, that is actually from 1:1:20. 1:1:20.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, also I was thinking that, for example, when we are entering the temple, it's okay, we reverse the order of the prayer. We can first say Namaste Pankaj Angrihe, then Nama Pankaj Navaya, then Nama Pankaj Malini, and then Nama Pankaj Netraya. We go from the feet above.
Like you're saying we reverse the verse?
I mean, we first say the feet, and then the Nabhi, and then the Malini, and then the Netra.
In the purpose it points out, the standard way, like when we say, we always should start off with the feet. We can meditate in that way, like, okay, lotus feet of the Lord, have darshan of the lotus feet, and offer some prayer, and gradually we go upwards, we take darshan.
Thank you.
And we understand why Queen Kunti started from the waist and not from the lips. Okay, anyone else have any points? So I think two devotees have said that we should do another class for this instead of a recording. So maybe we'll continue next time with the text 20. Actually, these prayers are so wonderful that, one way I am like, I want to go a little faster so we can cover this chapter. But other way, it's like so many points that you cannot just move forward, you know. It's just so wonderful. Okay? So next section, what is the qualification to approach the Lord? We discuss next week.
Prabhuji, this is very deep actually. So it could be next session will be fine.
And Prabhuji, the first canto is the highlight of first canto is prayers of Kuntarani. Right?
So anyway, you can study the prayers. We discussed at least nine verses today, right? 9 out of 25 or 26, 9 out of 26. So please study those prayers. Like you can study this chapter from text 1 up to text 25. And if you don't have this, you know, please take we have it in our temple. So please take a copy of this book and you can read Prabhupada's lectures. It's so wonderful. Like I've been, you know, like while preparing, I read like the whole book and I was actually marking down sections. And I was thinking like, oh, these 2 sentences are just so wonderful. And I was thinking of reading them, but we are short of time. So you please, you know, read the Prabhupada's lectures along with the verses.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, is that book available in temple? That is Srila Prabhupada's book?
Yeah, it is basically Prabhupada's purpose plus Prabhupada's lectures put together.
Oh.
Not like a separate compilation, but what Prabhupada gave lectures on prayers of Queen Kunti, they put it in the form of a text. So you can read Prabhupada's lectures along with each verse. Yeah, it is available in the temple. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll start here. Queen Kunti ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granth Ashram Bhagavatam ki jai, Panchakalpatarubhyasya Kripasinudhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo. Thank you all so much for your association. This is like a section that I was praying that, you know, I can do a little justice to this. Like so beautiful and so deep. So I hope I could serve. Thank you all so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all devotees.
You all Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
And